Boom. Right, we should be live now. Are we live? Let me check. Let me check if we're live. Oh my god, every single one of these streams starts this way. Right. Yes.
Oh, it's live now, yeah.
We are indeed. We're rocking and rolling and whatnot. Okay, everybody. All my zero viewers, thank you for tuning in. I have a very special show this week. Our very first guest on the Sunday show, Miss Mary Chu. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. It's been a very juicy week this week in the news. Lots of very strange happenings. And a lot of them have been bearing out on Twitter, as they often do. But first off, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit before we get into this? I just want people to have an idea of who you are if they don't know already.
Okay, hi, I'm the Mary Chu on YouTube. At the Mary Chu Live, I react to things, I watch drama, I watch trans-related things. Yeah, I don't know. That's about it, really.
Yeah, and this week we do actually happen to have. I mean, I didn't plan it to be this way, but we do actually happen. Trans people have been making a bit of a splash this week in the news for various reasons. So we're going to be getting into that as we get into the show. So maybe we should just get straight into it. I don't know, because we've got a fair few stories to get through this week. So yeah, let's just start things off. So the first story we have here, I think everyone probably heard about this, or at least I would imagine so. Maybe people not outside of Twitter, I guess. This is definitely a bit of a Twitter thing. But Hunter Schafer, who, to be honest with you, I don't actually really even know who they are, to be honest. I think they're an actor.
Yeah, well, actress. Depends how you put it, but yeah.
I would, to me, actor is
one of
gender neutral, to be fair, but
Yeah, they're one of the puberty blockers cases, you know. So she had puberty blockers. She never went through male puberty, and now she's like
right,
a actor and a model, I guess.
got you. Okay. So Hunter Schafer, basically, if you don't know what's been going on in America, Trump became president recently. And Trump's been going absolutely crazy with the, what are they even called? Those, like, edicts.
Executive orders.
Executive orders, yeah. He's been going a bit crazy with those, but he's been doing some pretty base stuff. And he declared that there was only two genders, there was only two sexes, male and female, and that's all you can have on official documents and all that kind of thing. Now, this has affected the trans community very deeply in America, and Hunter Schafer came out of the woodwork. I haven't actually listened to this video, by the way, so I'm going to be experiencing this for the first time. I don't know if you've watched it or not.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
But Hunter Schafer got very upset because her passport came back, and as you can see from this picture, it came back with the marker of male on the passport. And some very interesting things were said. What is the quote in this tweet here? It says, "I'm not making this post to fearmonger or to create drama or receive consolation. I don't need it. But I do think it's worth posting to sort of note the reality of the situation and that it's happening. I was shocked. I just didn't think it was actually going to happen. I want to acknowledge my privilege." What the fuck? What are you even saying? "Not only is a celebrity trans woman who is white, I pass and it still happened." Yeah, what? I don't even get that. Like, why would you think it wouldn't happen to you because you pass? I don't know. That seems like very weird, like, thought process to me. But anyway.
Yeah, I think trans people are like that a lot, to be fair. If you pass well enough, you won't get any problems. But something like the passport thing, it was going to happen to anyone that they wanted the passport for any reason because it was out of date or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think on official documents... I mean, okay, I can hear the argument for like a gender marker and a sex marker or something, right? I think it's needlessly overcomplicating the situation, but if it makes people, if it just stops all the bullshit, then fine, I'm happy with that. But at the end of the day, I do think it is important to have the sex marker on official documents in particular.
Yeah. The weird thing is, it's actually kind of the passing trans people that are having the problem. You know what I mean? Because now they're getting the gender markers that don't look like they match. Whereas a lot of the other less passing trans people, they're getting one that more accurately reflects what they look like. So it's kind of, it is weird in that way.
It is weird because I did get into some arguments about this, and I was basically saying like, look, there's lots of reasons why having a sex marker is relevant in like a myriad of different situations that is relevant to governments and to countries to know that, especially if you're coming in and out of the country and stuff. Like, not even just for medical reasons. If you become a missing person, if you are a victim of some kind of crime, or if you're the perpetrator of some kind of crime, etc., etc. There's like multiple different reasons as to why this is relevant to have this. But it seems like a lot of the trans community just can't seem to grasp why sex would be relevant to various situations. I guess that's to be expected, but
well, they don't want it to be, for sure.
It does seem like a denial thing a lot of times. It does seem like they're in like deep denial of like just like biology being real and stuff, and that has impacts on behavior and stuff.
Yeah, I guess like to see the other side, it's kind of like a lot of the time it doesn't feel like it should matter. Like there isn't really any particular need for someone to like call me a sir or something like that.
Sure.
So I kind of see the other side, but I think there's certain exceptions where your sex really does matter.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that in like sports and things like that.
I see. That's what I think more of, because like when you're talking about like polite company, like so for instance, I use the pronouns for you and everything, despite the beliefs that I have around trans ideology and stuff. Because to me, of course, it is just like a kind of respect thing, whatever. And I would do that even with the people that I politically disagree with as well, right? I don't just needlessly go out to be like, they're not that. But at the same time, I do think it's important to recognize the sex of people for, like you say, for various reasons, whether it be like for sports, prisons, single sex spaces, things like that. I do think it is important to recognize that. I think it's also important to recognize that males and females do have, they can have different patterns of behavior, especially when you get into the abusive spectrum. And I think that, like, they don't like to acknowledge that those differences can exist and that they are influenced or perhaps even dictated. I don't know if I would go that far, but they are absolutely influenced by biology.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's they're trying to maintain an illusion, I guess.
Mm.
I know how it is because I used to be the same. You know what I mean? It's just about maintaining the illusion ultimately, and like people will go along with it and stuff, but there's going to be times like strangers that are not going to know, and it's going to kind of burst the bubble for a little bit, and it kind of hurts because you're kind of that deep in it that it means that much to you and stuff.
I've always found, and this is, I don't know what you think about this, but I've found, even with the trans people that I've known in my life, and there's been a few that err on different sides of the spectrum, and when I think about people like you, to me, I think if you, and Blair White comes to mind as well, but there are people out, if you're solid in your identity, if you really know who you are, misgendering is not going to affect you in any way. Like, if I was misgendered, which I know probably wouldn't happen, I mean, look at this fucking mustache, but if I was misgendered, even if someone was doing it purposefully to try and irritate me, it isn't the misgendering that's going to irritate me. It's the fact that they're trying to irritate me that's irritating me. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's that. So I think if you're solid in who you are as a person, these things can't hurt you. I think the only times it can really hurt people is people who know it's not real. You know what I mean? But they're just in denial. That's why they get so like, ugh, about it.
Well, yeah, everyone does. Like, if you're a man, you have to know that it's a illusion in a certain way,
Mm.
and you want to keep it going as much as you can.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these people, and don't get me wrong, I've felt this too as a man, but I feel like a lot of people really want to be what they want to run away from the stigma of what being a man is. I think
Yeah, I
there's
mean, ultimately, it kind of has to go that way. Like,
yeah.
they're reducing both man and woman to kind of stigma, trying to take the opposite one.
Mm.
So that's kind of necessary, I guess, isn't it?
But I do seem to find like a lot of times there's how do I put it? Okay, so I didn't want to bring this on the show because I felt like it was a bit too morbid. But there was I think it was the anniversary. You know that Bianca girl, the 16-year-old girl that got stabbed
Oh,
in the
Brianna
UK?
Jai.
Sorry, was it Brianna? Sorry,
Brianna Jai, I think her
yeah,
name is.
sorry,
Or was.
got that wrong. Sorry, but it was the anniversary I think of that not long ago, maybe a week or two ago,
Yeah.
and just something struck me about the situation, the way people were talking about it and stuff, like how empathetic, how pouring out, and how they wanted to remember this person and stuff. Don't get me wrong; they're perfectly entitled to feel those things and want those things. So I'm not like trying to shit on them for doing it. But what I found interesting was that it's not often that a young boy gets that kind of empathy. You know what I mean? Unless they're pretending to be a girl.
I don't know. I guess those cases, you get the ones that the media seem to want to push. Like, there's a reason why you
Mm.
know who Madeline McCann is.
Yeah.
But then think about how many other like young girls went missing and were never found as well,
True.
probably around the same time.
True. True.
So I guess there has to be something that people can, you know, push up there. But like the trans media is always going to do that because, like, I don't know, we have to push this like victim mentality, I guess. Because like there's stuff that is not ideal all around the
Mm.
world for like trans people. But then any like instances like that can be like blown up
Mm.
and like, it's all like fear mongering, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, especially if we like, because to be fair, there's only been in the UK, I think, like 2 trans people killed in the past year, or
Yeah.
it might even be longer than that as well. And obviously, it is horrible. It's a hate crime. Absolutely, she was targeted for being trans in particular. So I'm not going to be
Or
pretending
possibly.
that's.
I don't know if we actually know that.
Oh, do we not?
I'm not sure. Apparently she wasn't like the first target or something like that. But I don't know too much to be clear.
Yeah, as far as I understand it, they did target her for being trans, but you might be right in that maybe they had other people in mind too. So maybe they were just a bit they were just trying to find reasons to kill people. So it may not be that
Yeah,
they just
well,
wanted to just
any
kill a trans.
murderer,
Yeah.
if you're gonna go and kill someone, then you're just gonna invent a reason, I guess, really.
Mm.
But yeah,
Well, I guess they. I don't know. Fuck it. I don't want to get into the weeds on that, but
yeah. If you're like that, I guess you're just like that. It's crazy.
yeah. But yeah. And it is a tragedy. Obviously, it's horrible what happened. But like sometimes I do see some of this stuff where I do think sometimes some of these guys who are trying to become trans or part of the NB stuff or whatever, there's an element to it where I feel like they're really scrambling for the empathy that women get sometimes in society. Because there is one of the few things, like, I'm not like a big red pill person or anything like that, but one of the few things that I really do think is a reality of society is that there is an empathy gap for men. And sometimes I see like some of the dynamics when it comes to some of the trans stuff, because that I think that there's multiple ways that people become trans, right? So I don't believe that it's just gender dysphoria or whatever. I think there's like many different reasons. And one thing I have noticed is with certain people, again, I can't categorize them properly, but with certain people, there's an air of um I want to feel valued in the same way that women are valued. Like, you know what I mean?
Do you mean coming from like males, like male, like trans or MBs or like female ones?
I'm talking about specifically male to female.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. I mean, they want like completely to be a woman,
Mm.
and if it includes those kind of benefits, like, oh, I get people feeling sorry for me now, then you're gonna like expect that kind of thing, I
Mm.
guess. And when it comes to like protections and stuff, you want to be treated like any other women, even though quite a lot of them don't, what's the word, apply to you. Like,
Yeah.
like maternity leave and shit doesn't matter to you whatsoever,
Mm.
but they still like want all of that shit. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's very bizarre, but also, what also really like grinds my gears about it is that those laws like maternity leave, like those laws around like single sex spaces and stuff like that, they're based on sex, not gender.
Yeah,
So they try and introduce gender. It's weird because they always try and say that sex and gender are separate, but then when it comes to these kinds of rights, they start trying to pretend that they're the same thing. It's one of them things where it's like, oh, when it's convenient, you know. Um,
yeah, it's strange. Like, there's not really a concrete definition on what gender even is, I don't think.
yeah. I mean, to me, gender and sex are the same thing. I do actually agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, I do think that when people are talking about gender, what they're really saying is masculine and feminine. If you're more masculine or feminine, it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter how masculine or feminine you are. That doesn't alter your sex or the impact your biology actually has on your psychology or behavior.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like, I guess to me, gender is like social and like cultural
Hmm.
stereotypes and stuff on the sexes. Like you're saying masculine and feminine, the same kind of thing basically.
Yeah,
So some things are considered feminine. If a man does a lot of feminine things, then he's like gender non-conforming, you know?
yeah. See, because when I say masculine, feminine, that is contextual to the culture. So, I do understand that when I'm saying that.
Yeah, of course.
But
That's why people say like gender is a social construct because like,
mm,
without society it wouldn't exist, but then also without sex it wouldn't exist because it's like derived from sex.
yeah, exactly. It's downstream from it. That's what I usually say. Like
Yeah, yeah.
the cultural expectations are downstream from because like it's. I don't know if you're into Evo psych and stuff like that. You're like
Not
evolutionary
sure
psychology.
about that. I might know a little bit. Like, I don't know.
It's fairly intuitive when you think about it if you have an idea of evolution and stuff. But so, for instance, the idea that women subconsciously look for, providers and protectors, for instance, is down to the fact that they can become pregnant, right? So obviously they're going to be incapacitated or vulnerable during pregnancy. Therefore, they're looking for someone to provide and protect during those vulnerable moments. So
Yeah, yeah,
subconsciously, they're always looking for that, and that's going to get extrapolated into the culture, kind of a thing. And then men are also looking for. They have different biological motivations for the way that they look at and see dating and pair bonding and all that stuff. So, like I think to me, like I think biology is like a really big factor in behavior and psychology, like much bigger than what a lot of these people would like to admit. It's a shame though because it hasn't been studied as in depth as you would like. You'd think it would be easier, but I guess humans are a bit too like, I don't know, complex organisms or something. Like just a bit too complex to really drill down on that.
yeah. Are you more nature than nurture then?
I'm both, but I think nature is way more significant in a lot of respects. So, for instance, an example that I would pick would be, say you've got a child, it's a girl or a boy. If you've got a boy and there's domestic violence in the house, his genes as a male is set up more for fight rather than flight, whereas like a girl's might be more flight rather than fight. So because those genes are set up in different ways because of the sex, they can have different responses to seeing the same stimuli, if that makes sense. So a boy might become more violent because he sees violence in the home, whereas a girl might become more inwardly violent to themselves.
Yeah, it can happen both ways for both, though.
Oh, it
I
totally
mean,
can. It's not. I'm not saying it's a
like,
rule. I'm saying it's a general observation.
yeah. I mean, like, you'd have to be insane to say it was like either one or the other.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Like, for me, I think like your social environment and stuff plays a big factor. Like,
It's significant. It's definitely
if I was
significant. Yeah.
around in Victorian times, or whenever it was that they used to have like public executions,
Hmm.
I'd probably be someone like watching that kind of thing.
Oh
Whereas to
yeah.
think about it now is like horrifying, you know.
Yeah.
I think it changes you like immensely.
Oh no,
But
it
like
totally does.
you
But
have to
this is.
accept that it's a
But
bit of both.
maybe you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is your genes are set up to react to the environment, right? And your genes are
Yeah,
set up in a certain way due to your sex, right? And
yeah,
stuff like that. So for instance, your attraction is an instinctual biological reaction, right? Um, you don't necessarily control your attraction in the same way that you would maybe control a fetish or something, right?
yeah. It matters. Like I don't know. You hear some kind of non-binary types the way they talk about some stuff sometimes. It's like they want to divorce themselves from the fact that usually they're female. Like being female
Yeah,
has like kind of shaped their personality and a whole bunch of stuff. Like your hormones will do that. You
mate.
know,
I've
it's
never
more
met a
important to
non-binary person who wasn't just like the most typical fucking girl ever. Like Disney fucking dickhead person, you know what I mean?
I'm saying nothing.
It's like I meet actual women who are not pretending to be envy and stuff who are more unique than you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's a fad. I don't know. Like,
It probably will die out. I think it's a little bit like the emo thing, a little bit, but
yeah, but then what's going to be next? I mean, we've already seen like DID on TikTok and stuff like that, you know?
hmm. I mean, a DID. I don't know if that will catch on in the same way, but I do think we'll probably see. Oh shit! Sorry, been drinking beer. But I do think we will see some changes in the youth, like because a lot of them are more like right wing than they used to be. A lot of them came out and voted for Trump in America.
Yeah, men are going more conservative again, and like females tend to be going the opposite way.
Well, I
I think
think
isn't Gen Z like
the
the most
men aren't
conservative?
becoming as conservative at the same rapid rate as women are becoming more left wing.
Yeah,
The women are getting way more radicalized quicker to the left wing than the men are getting radicalized towards the right. But it is happening on both sides to a degree, yeah, 100%. But even with the girls in America, the Zoomers and stuff, they were still voting for Trump. A lot of them, were voting for Trump and shit. So it does. I do think we might start to see like a bit of a right wing counterculture in the youth as like a rebellion against the progressive millennials, kind of a
yeah.
deal.
It's kind of like they're a bit more like sexually conservative because of like how many decades of like overt kind of sexual stuff in like
Yeah.
pop culture or whatever.
And it's not even, and like they're kind of overcorrecting. I'm already starting to see the ideas of them overcorrecting because there was that story where because they go mental over age gaps and stuff, right? Don't they? And there was a story where this guy, I think he was 22, and then the girl he dated was 19 or something like that, or 20. So not even an age gap to care about, basically, that anyone would normally care about. But they lured him somewhere because of this age gap. They considered him a predator. They lured him onto a college campus somewhere, and then like 10 people came out and like battered him to death or something. Like it was like
Jesus Christ.
insane. But they did that because of this kind of mad rhetoric around like guys dating younger girls and stuff, even when they're of legal age, when they're considered adults and stuff. Like it's weird.
Yeah, I find it kind of funny that men and women are getting more divided than ever.
Mm.
When in the past like five, however many years, we've been trying to like eliminate all like the gender differences and stuff and pretend it's all one big thing, and like that seems to have made things worse if you think about it.
Yeah, it's almost like there is differences we need to acknowledge in order to be able to have the harmony that we need, and then by ignoring them exacerbates the issue. Or something like that, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, Hunter Schafer went mental because I don't know if we need to watch this video. Do we need to watch this video? Does she say anything interested in this video?
It's quite long for what it is. Towards the end, she gets a bit kind of scaremongery. It's a bit
I swear there was a quote where it was like, they're trying to kill us or put us in camps or some shit. Like, she said something along those lines, like, this is murder or something like that.
There was something, I can't remember what it was. All that shit, like, blurs into one in my mind. All the
They do be saying it a lot, don't they? They do be saying shit like that a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, there was something, there was like one or two things in there that were a bit kind of inflammatory or whatever. And like, she's kind of right. She is like very privileged. Like, I don't even have a passport.
Yeah, me either. Me either.
And she's complaining about this, when she's like a fucking actor and model and stuff. Oh, you've got an M on your passport. It's hard for me to feel.
Yeah, and who's even gonna see it? Like, you pass it to the guy at the fucking thing. He's gonna look at it and go, okay. It's not like he's gonna go, hey up, we've got a man here, everybody.
like, she's not like the riffraff either. She's a celebrity.
Yeah.
It's like some people were saying that, like, oh, she's gonna be like outed and stuff as a trans person. It's like, motherfucker, like.
To who?
She's quite well known as it is. She's a celebrity.
Yeah, that is a good point, actually. Yeah, they're already a famous trans person. Everybody knows this person is male anyway. Literally.
Yeah.
Like, what difference does this make to your life? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, it's just fear mongering. It's a bit ridiculous. Like, I couldn't take it seriously when I watched it.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it earlier in the week and I just thought, you know what, this is just too... Because it's like, I was going to try and cover the, what do you call it? I keep calling them edicts, but they're not edicts. What are they?
Executive orders.
Executive orders, yeah. I was going to cover them, but I was like, nah, it's kind of bland, it's kind of boring. But this is like the aftermath of the executive order. And I think it's a little interesting to see how people react to it. And I was hoping... You know, I don't know why I had this thought in my head, but I was hoping, you know, it wouldn't be a big deal. But of course, it's a huge deal. And like, do you notice as well that they tend to make like scenarios that are like the most extreme, weird thing. Like again, like just to bring it back to like when I was arguing with some of these people about this situation, they were talking about how, like you say, they're going to be outed and stuff. It's like, well, when you go to the airport and you hand them over your passport to the guy who checks it, they're not reading out your shit to everybody else there. You know what I mean? Like, why? Only he would know.
Yeah, like for some people, like even that's too much.
How? Why though? That's just like crazy entitlement, though.
They want the illusion to stay at all times.
That's just crazy entitlement, man. That's just insane levels of entitlement.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, they've changed the what is it? The definition of gender and what male and female is to what they have. So, like, everything's going to have to, like, line up with that now.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, like it or leave it, you know.
So, sex and gender are the same thing, actually.
Well, they are now, yeah.
In the end.
So, they're going to have all this stuff that matches that now. So, like, yeah, unfortunately, that's what it is. Like, we had privileges, it sounds like, in America, and they've gone away now.
Very bizarre stuff. But anyway, we got caught on this first issue for a long time. But I think it is worth talking about. I think there is a significant amount of issues with trans people and the way that they view, like, what they're entitled to in terms of their rights. I do think they deserve some level of rights, as any group should, but I just don't see that gender constitutes rights above sex, sexual-based rights, if that makes sense, like sex-based rights.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where it comes into, like, there's just certain points where, like, trans rights and women's rights, like, clash. And that's where it's kind of centered on.
Yeah.
Like, that's why people are talking about those specific things about, like, sports and, like, what is it? Spaces, you know, restrooms and then prisons and stuff.
See,
restrooms
restrooms
have to be kind of dealt with individually as well, because it's kind of,
yeah,
they range in like severity or whatever.
See, restrooms to me, like, restrooms are kind of by the by, because that can be like from, restaurant to restaurant, public place to public place. But but like it's more like domestic shelters and prisons and stuff like that. That's the stuff. That's the stuff where I start to really get into it.
Yeah, those ones are where you probably have to be like pretty strict, if not completely fully strict.
Yeah.
Whereas a
I would agree.
bathroom, I generally think if you are able to kind of look like a woman or a man, then I guess it's probably fine.
I mean, I'll hold up my hands high. I used to do drag for many years, and I would use the women's bathrooms at times, especially if I was in a very shady pub where there was a bit of hostility, because I did face some hostility for being a drag queen. But but at the end of the day, these like I always okayed it with the women in there. Like if I went in, they knew I was the drag queen, obviously, because I was DJing. But like they'd be like, I'd say first, I'm all right to pop in here, just because don't want to go in there with all a bunch of coked up fucking lads. You know what I mean? In the fucking other bathroom, and I'm just in and out. You know what I mean? Like I'm not in there, fucking, lounging around like fucking shaving and stuff or whatever the fuck people do. I'm just in and out. But I used to do that here and there. But at the same time, if a woman said, "Oh, they weren't comfortable with it," I'd just go in the men's.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I've used the women's, of course. Like I said, like I was very much like any other trans person for a long time, like trying to keep the illusion going. Whereas I don't really care anymore. But it's like I don't really go out much, and like I don't even know what gendered bathroom I'd use, because like I used to use the men's until I kept getting weird looks and people made me uncomfortable. So I started using the women's. And like I got the odd like funny look. I think I was clocked like once. It turned out turned out to be someone that I knew, and like it was basically fine anyway. But sorry, what were we fucking bathrooms?
Yeah, I think bathrooms. Like, it's a bit more contextual.
People being uncomfortable using the men's, because like I just don't like people like staring at me and stuff. I don't like sticking out like a sore thumb.
I think it's contextual. Honestly,
it is my feelings. Like if a woman is bothered by it, then what else can I do?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is very contextual with the bathrooms, and it kind of is what it is. I think it, like you say, if you pass, it's fairly acceptable in my mind to go into the women's. I don't think every trans person is up to some devious stuff. I just think if we make like a blanket rule, I think people should be able to challenge people going into certain spaces or whatever if they want to, especially when it seems like more egregious or whatever. But I think again, it's very contextual. It's very case by case kind of basis stuff, So it's hard to like make like a policy around this kind of thing when it comes to bathrooms specifically. This is why I think it's more like it should be left up to the businesses, the restaurants, what they want to choose to do. If they want to have unisex bathrooms or whatever. And they did that ages ago. They did that years ago, unisex bathrooms and stuff like that, way before all this trans stuff came out.
Yeah, I mean, in places in Europe, like they have co-ed bathrooms or whatever. But I don't think our culture or like American culture is headed in that way.
No, it doesn't seem like it. But let's jump into the next one. So, trans people are making a splash, not just about their passports, but in the government itself in America. So we've had some leaks from the NSA and CIA. These are some of the top brass of intelligence agencies in the USA. The officials expressed their desire to have hermaphrodite babies in order to advance trans ideology. An intersex birth, this is a quote, an intersex birth would be a great opportunity to raise a kid as non-binary and let them choose later. The people who run the surveillance state are insane. So let's have a little look at this document here. There's a bit that's redacted. I guess it's just the names. So we've got person 1 saying, how were you raised equals how you will be. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you are 100% the result of your experiences. That does not mean the way people raise you will be the way you turn out. Already, the ideology is strong. Just in that one statement.
It's crazy. So who was it? The NSA, you said?
This is an This is like a group chat of certain trans individuals who are involved in the NSA and the CIA. So, like, they're in both... Oh, wait, hold on. You can't see what I'm doing, can you? Oh.
No, I can't see any of it.
Mate, what am I doing? I am such a bad host. So sorry. Right, you should be able to see that.
Okay, just scroll up a sec. Ah, right. Okay. Does it get bigger? Can we see it like more full screen or?
That makes it seem a bit smaller to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's any better. Maybe I can zoom in.
I can't really read it, but
I can't even zoom in. Oh, here we go.
that's a bit better.
Here we go. Here we go.
So these are like group chat messages, and
these are like a group chat message. Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna have to run to the toilet. So,
yeah, no problem.
You are an experienced streamer. Hopefully, you can hold down the fort for 2 minutes while I run to the toilet. All right, I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Chat, how are we doing? Hey, chat. It's fine. We can just wait. I don't have to say anything. Just play that joke where I call him a dickhead behind his back, and then he finds out later, I guess. I could do that. Oh, the screen's gone weird. He's not going to be happy when he comes back. It's gone really weird.
Sorry, we're back. We're back.
You good?
I am good. Thank you.
Something happened to the screen.
Did it?
Yeah.
What's happened?
I'm like cut in half now.
Oh,
and
no.
Your thing is on there twice.
Hold on.
I don't know if you like changed the size of the window or something.
I think I did, yeah. Sorry, boomer problems, guys. Boomer technical issues. We will get this figured out. Right. Right, are you up on the screen now?
One sec. I'm having to wait for this stream because I can't see it, obviously.
Is there some latency going on?
I'm a bit small.
Oh, wait. Yeah, you are a little bit small. Hold on. Have you in all your glory. There we are. Are we there?
Yep, I think. Oh, yeah, I'm sure that'll do. I'm sure that'll do.
Okay. Okay, I'm looking at it now. Yes, we're alive and kicking, I think. Wait, we're still on the wrong thing. It still says the Mary Chew. Hold on.
Yeah, Sorry, I haven't been checking the live stream.
No! Why is this happening? What is happening here? Hmm. Oh, no. Why?
Is it not working? It's coming up on Discord.
Yeah, it's coming up on Discord, but it's not coming up on the stream. It's just showing the Mary Chew screen.
Yeah.
Why is it doing that? No!
Can you not just like use that window then? Just do whatever with it, or is that like a screenshot or something?
No, I'm just using this browser. It normally just picks up the browser. It worked fine last time. Right, you know what? I'll just delete that and make a new one. Game capture. Where is it? Window capture. Okay. Hopefully that worked. No, it didn't. No! What is going on? Right, hold on.
Okay, it's on there now.
There we go. Okay, the technical difficulties, I think, are over. Hopefully.
Hey.
Please, Lord. Please, Jesus. Okay, it's looking like it's okay. You're back on the screen. Okay, we're alive. Is it working? Is it scrolling up and down? Please. Please. It's just the latency. I'm waiting for the...
Same. Okay, it's
Yeah, it's
now.
working! It's working!
Okay.
Oh my god. Thank the Lord. We're back in business, right. So, yeah, this is a group chat. Okay, let's get back in the zone here. This is a group chat of people, officials in the NSA, the CIA, and the NRO, whatever that is. I don't even know what that is. You know?
I can Google it.
No clue what that is, but I'm assuming it's some kind of other agency.
National Reconnaissance Office.
Oh, so they're like gathering intelligence from other places, right? Okay.
I would guess so, yeah.
Well, a bunch of trans individuals that have infiltrated these agencies have a group chat together, and these are the kinds of ideas that they are espousing. So already one of the first things they say is, I'm saying you're the 100% result of your experiences. This is very troubling. This is a very troubling point of view. But I do think it is... I think it does show like this is what fundamentally a lot of these people believe. Right?
Yeah, of course.
I think we've even kind of covered this even before and what we were talking about, there's like a lot of culture of just complete denial of biology altogether.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes sinister, I guess, when you think of what they might use that for. Like if they
Mm.
think that if they think that you're like 100% a product of how you're raised, then they're presumably going to start raising their kids in like specific ways that could be like extremely abusive, depending
Mm.
on what it is, you know.
Yeah, because who's to say that like, oh well, if we just made your experience good, then we can just make anything good, right? So like, if you don't feel aggrieved by being sexually abused, then then you haven't really been sexually abused, right? Since it's all just experiences, and if it's a good experience, then it's whatever, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
I don't know, man. It's just very. I feel like you can go down some weird, dark avenues with this point of view if you really wanted to. So what are they else saying? This NSA person says an intersex birth would be a great opportunity to raise a kid as NB and let them choose later.
Yeah, it's like weird. Like your hope would be that they're not actually going to go out and do that kind of shit, but like I don't know. Like with all the kids stuff, I don't know why we talk about kids, some of us, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
The way we talk about like kids stuff, it's just not right. Even the way that some trans women like call themselves girls constantly.
Hmm. I do think that like it's not a matter of choice. You are the sex that you are. Um, and I think like we should be teaching kids to be coming to terms with that and accepting themselves. And obviously, there might be some people that fall out of the spectrum on that. That's fine, but I don't think it's obviously not the default, and I don't think that like being very flippant with it and being very callous for these ideas is like healthy.
Yeah, yeah, I get you.
That's kind of how it feels a lot of times. Like they're just kind of shooting from the hip. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of it is like shit posting, but
mm,
it's like weird. Like you don't have to say stuff like that, especially in a format that might get leaked one day. It's not gonna come over very well.
the other person says, or not choose at all. Again, I don't think it's really a matter of choice, to be frank.
Yeah, well, I mean, you get like parents that want to raise their kid like without gender and stuff, and I guess we're gonna have to find out how that pans out because that's like a modern thing. But
Because
I
like
don't know. I
if
mean,
you
that
really
ideology's
monitored
out there.
if you really monitored those kids, if you tried to raise them in a gender neutral way, like are they how I'd still say they more than likely will show a lot of typical traits in
Well, like
relation to their sex.
if we did it widespread, I feel like we'd get the opposite effect that we seem to from like overly strict like gender norms,
Mm.
where people start rebelling.
Mm.
I think if it was like more widespread in the other direction, I feel like people would start like rebelling by just
I mean,
being their own
in a
self.
weird way, we are actually already kind of seeing that as well because of just the effect of feminism and in the culture and like the way that they've tried to equalize or destroy cultural norms around like dating and men and women and gender roles and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
In a weird way, they've kind of activated like this kind of, and it goes both sides. There's like a hyper feminine kind of strand of women now, and then there's also like these obviously the red pill kind of like hyper masculine types as well.
I think you always got those, didn't you?
I suppose you do, but like it just seems like the dichotomy of what is happening now, it kind of is exacerbating those things. It's like there's like a catalyst involved that's like kind of blowing them all up, like exacerbating like these differences even more. And I think it is that push to try and deny the differences is then making people want to focus on it even more, you know?
Yeah, it's always going to have that effect, I guess.
It's like you say, it's like a rebellion type thing, you know?
Yeah, I 100% think we'd see that. Like, there's so many. You hear these people who were in like religious upbringings and stuff and end up like these gender people.
Mm.
It's like not, it's not super surprising to me because kids like rebel. You know, it's kind of normal. You expect it.
Yeah.
And I know what it's like to feel like gender norms are kind of restrictive in some ways and don't work out favorably
Yeah.
sometimes. But at the same time, like, I don't know, there's a limit, I guess. Like, if you go too far in the opposite direction, people are just going to want the kind of the more order kind of nature of having it just sex, you know?
Yeah, and I think there is like a value to some of those gender norms that are like based in sex. Like, so for instance, to men, to I don't want to say that they have to be stoic. What I mean more is that like having being regulated, I guess. Like having your shit together or whatever. So you're not flying off the handle every fucking 5 seconds. You know, that's
Yeah, there is that. Yeah, yeah.
I think that's like a good gender expectation. I think, to be honest though, we should probably have that for women too, because bitches be crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe women could do with a bit more stoicism. How about that? Maybe we don't need less stoicism. Maybe we need more.
Men can be plenty emotional anyway. Trust me.
Oh no, I know. I am one. So, I know all about it. What else are they saying here? Hermaphrodite and intersex are two different things. Yes. Are they?
Well, hermaphrodite falls under intersex, I guess. It's really confusing because, like, I don't like the term intersex because it applies this kind of identity thing that has nothing to do with the actual fact of what it is. It's like a post hoc thing. It's like a religion or something. You know what I mean? Like, you see it and then you extrapolate that yourself. Like, fuck, what was I saying? Oh, hermaphrodites. Yeah, yeah. So like hermaphrodites are a kind of intersex because intersex is anything that kind of leads you to not really seem quite one sex or the other.
Right. Okay.
Like,
Hold on.
the best way of putting it is DSDs, which is like what is it? Disorders of sexual development. Like, that's a much better way of putting it. But that includes things that intersex doesn't, because not every DSD like makes you overtly not seem male or female when you.
I was just gonna say, is it true? Is it more true to say that intersex would mean that you maybe have chromosomal mutations, which do not?
Yeah, I think it depends how it comes out. Like, I have a list of like the DSDs. I've gone through them and stuff.
But hermaphrodite.
Like,
sorry to cut you off, but hermaphrodite would be more like, if you have like like a mix up of genitals specifically.
Yeah, but sometimes they can be like chromosomal. There's all sorts of different things, and they're like genetic like mistakes or like accidents or whatever, which people think is me calling those people mistakes, and that's not what I'm doing. It's like that's functional.
No, you mean like the function of the biology itself, not like making a judgment of them as a person. Yeah.
Yeah, like things go wrong in development, and you end up with like certain results. But then some of them, like Klinefelter, which is XXY in a male, it's like those people are not intersex. They're like clearly still males. But then hermaphrodites, like that, I guess they develop bits of both or something like that. But they generally still have a dominant gonad. Like, there's no one that's ever produced like both gametes like simultaneously. And if they produce one gamete, then you know what sex they are because that's their reproductive role.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I've read a lot about DSDs because people constantly bring it up. Like, it's difficult.
See, I find it irrelevant anyway, though, because like at the end of the day, literally 99% of people who say that they're trans don't have any of that anyway. So why are we even talking about it?
Yeah, yeah. There was some study that suggested that quite a few trans women like lie about. I don't know if it's trans women or trans people, but and it was quite a small group, to be fair. I'm not saying that it means loads of these people are doing it, but certainly some do. Like, they'll lie about potentially having an intersex condition or something. And like, I don't know, you kind of, I want to blame like ContraPoints in a way with the whole like, you know, well, you can't see someone's chromosomes and stuff like that, as if to imply, well, you don't know what chromosomes I have.
Well, didn't Philosophy
that
Tube
kind of attitude kind of inspires a lot of that, which is a bit annoying. Right?
You're not wrong, but I'm pretty sure Philosophy Tube just said it outright.
Probably did, yeah. I don't know.
Like, there was a video Philosophy Tube did about struggling to basically become trans through the NHS and all this stuff and like the different.
Oh, that was more recently, yeah.
It was probably a year or two ago now.
Yeah,
But
a few years ago, yeah.
But the video, I remember there was points in it where she was just like, "Yeah, just lie to him. You can just lie."
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of how it is. Like, when it comes to reporting, like mental health issues to the NHS, like that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna like describe like your worst days, not your best ones, because otherwise you might not get the treatment that you want. Because that's what you're after. And like with trans, it's kind of the patient already knows what treatment they want, and they just want someone to sign off on it. That's kind of how it is.
Yeah, more or less. So this person goes on to say, the CIA person goes on to say, being trans isn't genetic, and if it was, we super wouldn't want it to be, because holy crap, would that be awful for us? Because that means that you know it's not genetic for you.
Well, it's more than that. They're saying like if they'd find the gene, then they'd go about starting to eliminate it or something like that. It's the same argument for why they don't want to find a gay gene.
Nah, I don't think so.
Oh, it is. Trust me.
They can construe it that way, but I don't think people would use it that way. It's more for like diagnostic, right? You'd want it'd be more like if we discovered it, we'd use it to diagnose, and then people like you probably wouldn't get it because you probably aren't actually that way, right? You're doing it for a different reason. You know you're doing it for a different reason. That's why it'd be awful for you.
Yeah, there's a secondary thing, which is that like if there was a gene, they'd be able to test you for that gene. If you don't have it, it's like, oh shit, you can't transition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I think on that specific, what they're talking about is like the kind of gay gene stuff. Well, if they found it, they'd try and eliminate it.
Okay, let's go on to see what else they say. Because 100%, as soon as someone claimed to discover the trans gene, this is the same nonsense people talk about a gay gene. Yeah, okay. You absolutely know that people would super use it for eugenics and abort trans babies. I don't know about that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who would be doing that exactly. Can you trust any government not to do it? I guess not, but you never really know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just, I think people do.
Anyway.
I think people do care about the humanity of things, like when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
You know, people don't even like it when you want to abort for, like, say you find out if they got Down syndrome or something like that. You know, that a lot of people think that's wrong too. So I don't know. I don't think. Maybe some people might do that, but I don't think it would be like a societal way. If anything, it would just be more like, oh, well, now I can prepare that I know I have a trans child. You know what I mean? Like, I think like
You'll probably get certain demographics keeping them and certain demographics not keeping them, realistically.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. People would super use it to gatekeep transness. Well, yeah. Obviously. But implicit in what they're saying, though, is that they want it to be completely open and ambiguous as possible.
Yeah, like self-ID and shit.
Yeah.
You were talking about the Philosophy Tube video. At the end, she's like talking about that, about how she wants it to be like self-ID, so you can like prescribe basically. But
it's
like
super abusive system, like
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna say something. Shit, like gatekeeping. Yeah, I mean, like some kind of gatekeeping is always necessary.
Oh yeah,
they have to gatekeep out the people that aren't fucking trans, otherwise they'll start getting, they'll get all these treatments that they shouldn't have had, and then their bodies will forever be changed. They might never be able to have kids again. So like, it is important to have some gatekeeping.
Oh yeah.
A lot of these people, like gatekeeping is like their enemy.
But this is how you know they've got like different motivation, right? Because it's like they want it all or nothing. There's no compromise. Like there's no, because like people like yourself are very nuanced, very can understand where there's a need for something, where there's not a need for something. And I can respect that a lot, and we need more voices like this out there. And I think that is growing, hopefully. I do think that side of things is growing, especially with the advent of Trump. But I do think this kind of stuff is really, really prevalent. And it's going to be really, really difficult to like I really struggle to think about like how are we actually gonna persuade them from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's difficult when someone's sure of something, especially when it becomes like part of their identity,
Mm.
and they're being encouraged by other people to like be militant about it. Like, I mean, I don't know, you're getting into like deprogramming shit at that point. I don't know anything about that at this point, you know. I'd
Yeah,
love to learn kind of some of that stuff,
I
but
mean, I'm
you
just
know,
talking about it from like a person to person perspective, but
well,
like,
that's practically what it takes. They get into like thought cults, some of them.
but it is like a kind of pre-prescribed. It is like a religion, really. It really
In
is
a
like a
sense,
religion.
yeah.
It's like there's a doctrine to it. You've got to adhere to certain beliefs around it in order. But then I get into like when I get into like my more cynical side, I go, well, just treat them the same way that atheists treat religious people. You know what I mean? Just be like straight up like, well, that's just your belief, man. Like,
Yeah. I mean, you can't tell other people what to believe ultimately. Like, we want other people to agree with us as to what our identity is, and that's just not possible.
mm, yeah, identity is way more complex than just how you see yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just what you call yourself, honestly. Like, to
I,
identify something is to.
I don't think so. I think identity is how other people perceive you, more or less.
I don't know. Like, to me, I think, well, your self identity very much is like what you call yourself,
Sure.
like, very much like who you believe yourself to be and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think like gender is really just a part of that because obviously, typically, a person will understand that they are male or female. But I mean, like,
Hmm.
I don't know. It's there's a lot to it, and it gets garbled so much. It's kind of difficult. Like the whole gender identity thing, it's hard to talk about because it's difficult to know what people mean half the time.
Yeah, I mean, I just consider it a state of being. Like, you are. It's not a thought, it's not a feeling. It's just a state of reality. Like,
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know. We've made it to where we want identity to be something that you coin for yourself. Like you decide that you must be genderqueer or like a whatever, I don't know, fucking hell, a gender. Like that's what they're going for is like
yeah.
you just choose what identity you have and everyone else accepts it.
But they think that life is like a video game where you're just like mixing it up, like online, doing whatever the fuck you want, like creating a crazy avatar. It's like that's not
Maybe,
how
yeah.
shit works, man. That's not how this shit is. But it's a very postmodern way of looking at the world. I don't even know if a lot of them realize that it's postmodernist or not, but
I'd imagine most of them do, yeah.
I mean, I
It probably
guess
gets
so.
thrown at most people enough.
I guess so. I mean, they must have been through like a pretty progressive education, so they must have come into contact with ideas of postmodernism and stuff. But
Yeah, like education or like got in with a group of people and
mm,
learned about it that way, like lots of
yeah,
things.
yeah, sure, sure. Blah, 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 blah. Somebody else says whether it's 99% or 100%, you have absolutely zero way of knowing you would be what be if literally anything about your past was different. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
if
I
you
guess you can't
change
always
anything, then
know, but
yeah, like butterfly effect kind of stuff, right?
yeah, you can't always know. That's fair enough. But like, I think there is predictable parts of human behavior. Like, it's not that everyone like. So, for instance, I've said this before, but like, if there's abuse in the home in one way or another, right? That can create dysfunction in the other people. It doesn't mean that every single person exposed to that becomes abusive, but it means the
Yeah.
likelihood that they could become abusive rises.
Yeah,
Right.
become more,
Yeah.
keep being a victim of. Like
Yeah.
it kind of goes both ways. Like
Mm.
that's what the cycle of abuse is.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. It's like learned behavior, basically.
Yeah. I mean, all you can do if you're caught up in that shit, unfortunately, is like break it by
Mm.
not doing anything to anyone else.
Yeah. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize that's even what they're doing. A lot of times.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. People will rationalize all sorts to themselves.
Oh yeah, it gets normalized. It gets normal. Like just think about how when we go back to the 1980s in the UK, it was ubiquitous to hit your children to discipline them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas
Now
now
we're
it's like people do it still, but like it's nowhere near as prevalent as it used to be.
Well, yeah, we're realizing it causes like trauma and stuff like that. Like it's not
Exactly.
good, and it, if your parent will hit you, you might decide that it's okay to hit others. It kind of
Exactly.
passes that kind of behavior on.
Well,
So
if you hit a kid for disrespecting you, you're teaching them that hitting people who disrespect you is okay.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, you got to be careful with what goes on. Anyway, last bit here. Yes, true hermaphroditism. I didn't even realize that was a word. Doesn't exist in humans, and it's become kind of an offensive term for intersex people.
Oh yeah, I was watching. Do you know who Jivan Bradley is? He's one of those
No?
like trans ally like debate bro types that
Okay.
sits there on Discord like debating conservatives and stuff like that, and being a bit of a dick. Like
Right.
someone mentioned like the video I did recently about him. Someone mentioned like hermaphroditism or like hermaphrodite on the call, and straight away he's all like, no, you can't use that word. That's actually an offensive slur.
Is it?
Ridiculous.
What? See, I hate this kind of like 1984. We need to change words all the time, change the definitions, change say things that are less offensive or whatever. Like, I just think like, what's the point? Because then that word that you change it with becomes the offensive word.
Yeah, I don't see the point in slurs. There was a really good Abba and Preach video a few years ago, I think it was, where they talk about like how they'd rather people just said the slur instead of all the
Yeah.
innuendo people do instead.
Yeah. Just
If
grow
they
up,
say
be an
the slur,
adult.
you know who it is. You know
You're
what I
meant
mean?
to have your big boy pants on now. That means you can hear a naughty word, okay?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it kind of gives you power in a way because you know
Yeah.
that person's racist. You don't have to like second guess yourself.
Yeah.
Like they say certain things, it's like, okay, you're that. You know what I mean?
Well, you can check the intention, like, and it means that people aren't walking on eggshells and shit, and it's just all... Yeah, it is better to be
Yeah.
out in the open. Yeah, okay, it can lead to confrontation and stuff, and that is definitely a con of the situation. However, a lot of times it's better to have that honesty out there. You know what I mean? It's better to have that, like you say, that knowledge of like what their intentions are without everything being like cloak and dagger, smoke and mirrors all the time.
Like, you know what I think the other thing is actually about policing slurs and stuff like that. They'll ban all of the people that say the slurs, and then the people like come back and then find ways around it. So we're like actually kind of helping them learn.
We're helping them make new slurs, better slurs, more catchy, more fun, more hilarious slurs.
Like, I don't know. I worked in a Weatherspoon on bar when I was first starting my transition, which wasn't. It was a bit brutal, but like it kind of toughened me up. Like it's okay to be called a name once in a while. Like it's not nice, but it's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
And like crying about like hate crimes and stuff like that. It's just ridiculous. Some people are dicks. That's just how it is.
Yeah. No, it is how it is. Like, you got to learn to roll with the punches in life at some point or another. Like, you got to take the baby gloves off. You got to get out of the nappies at some point. The Pampers. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. It took me a long time to like stop caring so much of what people think about me and stuff. But like, I think it's something that everyone should at least try and get to a little bit if they can, you know.
Yeah, I think you've got to have like some level of confidence, and also like you should care about what people who in your life care about you think of you, obviously, because they know you. But like when it comes to people outside of your life, like yeah, I mean maybe you should care about your reputation to a certain degree, but like when it becomes like pathological, then like yeah, it's not good, is it? Anyway, let's move on to the next part of this story, because after all this came to light with this chat room kind of stuff, Ms. Tulsi Gabbard here, the sexy Tulsi Gabbard, came out and basically said that there was 100+ people involved with this chat room, by the way, apparently. These officials connected to this sex chat room will have their security clearances immediately revoked. So, it's not working out too well for these people. But it does, I find this story very interesting because it's not, okay, you know how people talk about there's these elite pedophiles, sexual deviants, Satanists, all this kind of stuff, right? You hear that from the right wing MAGA people, right? Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, would that apply to stuff like this? I guess like what we've seen
Wait, wait,
in
wait.
the messages is kind of weird, but
I'm
like
not saying it's the same. No, I think there's more to it in the sense of like there's been like just very sexual other discussions. I think what we just saw there was just like a very particular
that's just a
snapshot.
part of it. But
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I was about to say, if that was it and a lot of people got fired and stuff, like they're saying some weird shit, but I don't know. I don't know if I'd be down
No,
with
I
that,
think I don't know all the details of it, but I'm pretty sure they were like organizing like sexual events and
Okay, fair enough.
things like that or whatever. Like you on company time, in government chat rooms that they made for themselves on the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And basically the reason why I'm bringing up like the whole like kind of conspiracy theory thing is that like it does kind of point to that in a way, like not in the way that conspiracy theorists necessarily talk about it, but I do think we are looking at, in a weird way, we're kind of like unearthing this kind of hedonistic element that exists within the government that is bound by greed, bound by their own pleasures. They don't care about anyone else, just what they can get. And it does kind of feed into that narrative a little bit, I'm finding.
Yeah. Yeah, like yeah, if it's kind of there's a lot of worse stuff, then I get that. Like the kind of hedonistic stuff. Like I mean,
Hmm.
if you've got that much money, then you're gonna go a bit insane. I mean, that's another thing that's always been going on. Like we've had
Oh, yeah.
pedophile scandals going back fucking ages,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and like they
100%.
can just do what they want, so they do. You know?
Yeah. And this is what I mean, like, when people are presented with those temptations, like, realistically, a lot of people are very likely to go down those roads or somewhere down those roads, you know? Um, which is why we've got to we've got to scrutinize these people pretty heavily. But anyway, I'm going to watch this quick segment. It's only a minute long. But I just want to hear what Tulsi actually says.
Well, Jesse, what we're going to do
Can you hear that, by the way?
I can, yeah.
has already been done. There are over 100 people from across the intelligence community that contributed to and participated in this, what is really just an egregious violation of trust. What to speak of like basic rules and standards around professionalism. I put out a directive today that they all will be terminated and their security clearances will be revoked. But
she's going to
kill
kill him.
Jesse, is like, we got to take a step back because this is just barely scratching the surface. When you see what these people were saying, and thanks to Chris Rufo for putting it all out online, they were brazen in using an NSA platform intended for professional use to conduct this kind of really, really horrific behavior. And they were brazen in doing this because when was the last time anyone was really held accountable? Certainly not over the last 4 years, certainly not over the last 10, maybe 20 years. When we look at some of the biggest violations of the American people's trust in the intelligence community. So today's action in holding these individuals accountable is just the beginning of what we're seeing across the Trump administration, which is carrying out the mandate the American people gave him. Clean house, root out that rot and corruption and weaponization and politicization, so we can start to rebuild that trust in these institutions that are charged with an important mission of serving the American people, ensuring our safety, security, and freedom.
Based. What are we
There
thinking?
we go. I mean, I don't know why anyone would, if it's an NSA platform, like why wouldn't you just use like, I don't know, anything else?
I know, yeah, like literally, like just Telegram exists.
Yeah, like I can't imagine using like a work platform.
Yeah.
I knew someone. I had a friend at one of my old jobs, like in an office, and she'd been like kind of weird sexting back and forth with someone like via email. And like at one point, the boss was tagged in for like about 10 emails in a row.
He got
They
CC'd.
found all of
He
it.
got CC'd in the
And like,
sexting.
fucking hell,
No.
I was one of the kind of vaguely supervisory people at the time. And like I kind of like worked with her a lot to try and get her half up to speed with the job.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, oh, it's so fucking embarrassing. Like, this is not what I'm telling people to do. Jesus.
Oh my god. The drama.
But yeah, just like, why do it at work? There's no need to. Of course that shit might get...
Because they're obsessed, Mary. That's why. They can't stop. It never stops. That's why they're on government channels, making chat rooms on government channels, on government time, talking about this shit. Because they're literally obsessed.
I mean, well, if they keep doing it that way, they're gonna keep getting caught then, I guess, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think it speaks to a mentality. Number one, they thought they were kind of untouchable, so there's an arrogance going on there.
Yeah.
Number two, though, it is just like a deep pathology, I feel like. Like, so the AGP argument that a lot of radfems give, I do find it reductive a lot of times because I think there's many reasons why people become trans. However, I do think the idea of AGP does exist. And I think it is fairly prevalent. And especially in amongst these like kind of hedonistic types. You know, of course, they're probably going to congregate more there, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I've always seen orthogynephilia as kind of a counter to something like gender dysphoria, or like a replacement almost.
How
Like
do you
that's
mean?
kind of ultimately what makes them do it. It's not that they're unhappy in their bodies, as they have these kind of fantasies about being female. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Oh, wait, so you're saying that gender dysphoria is like okay, so like you say, it's an unhappiness with their body that it's not as they want it to be.
Mean, to me, like, I really hate all the official definitions of gender dysphoria because it's all about like gender incongruence with your gender identity. To me, gender dysphoria is just not being happy with your gender or sex.
Yeah, it's like a body dysmorphia. That's how I would look at it.
I guess kind of, yeah.
Yeah, like in the sense of like, you know how with thin or fat people there can be time, even with men with muscular or non-muscular, there can be like these kind of body dysmorphias where they can't view themselves properly. Even if they are buff, they might think they're too skinny or whatever the fuck. Or like if they're slim, they might think they're too fat, whatever. I think there is like I won't say it's exactly the same, but I think there's like a similar psychological thing going on where, like you say, they're kind of expecting a certain it's like their brain's tricking them constantly or something. Like they're expecting to see a certain thing and it's not there. Whereas it seems like a lot of other, like when we get to like people like the HPs, like you say, like it's more about what they want to have rather than what they don't have.
Yeah, I guess so. And like when you're gender dysphoric, you're probably going to be attracted to the other gender because that's the other thing that exists, you know? So like, I don't know. I guess it makes sense that both would exist, really. And someone can probably kind of have bits of both as well. I think I do, personally.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think, like I say, to me, human psychology is way more complex and all that. So, you know, I see the argument for all sides of it. I think they all exist. I think the issue I have with radfems and trans activists is that they try to pin it on one thing or another.
Yeah, like single cause fallacy. Like, there's lots of different things. I mean, I think generally, I'd say it has to kind of come from like gender dysphoria or like something like AGP. But like, there's lots of different ways someone can get to that state. Like, you can end up being gender dysphoric for lots of reasons. Oh, one sec, sorry.
No, you're good. Hello.
Anyway. Charlie's going out.
Yo. Hi. You getting drunk? Let's go.
Probably already is a bit.
Yeah, I'm on the tinnies as well, though.
He's drinking as well, don't worry. He's drinking as well, don't worry.
Yeah, I'm on the tinnies, mate. Let's go.
What, base centrist?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I was base centrist. Yeah.
Were you watching the Christmas stream?
I think so. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah. I was watching the Christmas stream. Yeah.
Tell you before I went.
But yeah, there we go. Charlie's going out.
Sorry. I shouldn't have interjected.
I miss this one man.
Love you. I love you.
Love you too. You'll let me go.
There we go. Excuse the interruption.
Oh, it was very cute. But yeah,
Maybe it wasn't scripted or planned in any way.
Just trying to make myself look more human here.
I know. I'm the one transbian that's dating like actual woman who's not overweight. So that's a joke, by the way. If you're overweight, like we're all cool.
Who doesn't look like Shrek.
I don't think my partner looks like Shrek.
No, I didn't mean. I mean, like you're the one transbian that's not dating Shrek.
Oh yeah, I mean most of them are dating each other. So.
Hey, Shrek's a sex icon, by the way, so let's not get that twisted.
We were talking about AGP, weren't we?
We
Yeah,
were. Sorry, I'm a little bit drunk now, and I've also had a couple of spliffs. So
with the Radfem people, they kind of, I feel like they boil it down to like fetish too much.
They do.
AGP
Yeah.
a more big range of like.
They literally just believe it's AGP, like nothing else.
Yeah.
And I think that's insane. Like they literally know nothing about psychology if that's what they think.
Like if you come up with a diagnosis or whatever that the trans rights activists don't like, then of course they're gonna like hone in on it. You know what I mean?
But yeah, the trans activists though they don't think it's anything really. They've
been debunked apparently.
Like a trans activist just seem to think like whoever says they're trans is just trans and that's it.
Yeah.
That seems to be like the bottom line.
Who are just like, oh well, who cares? Like, it doesn't affect you in any way. It's like, who cares? And it's like, well, it has effects in certain.
Well, okay, that argument would work if they weren't demanding sex-based rights.
Yeah.
But they are demanding sex-based rights, so then it does call into question like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, so, like I said, there's places where trans rights and women's rights specifically are clashing. So
the rubber hits the road.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And you got to deal with that. And I think it's the same with the trans men too, though, as well, because like at the end of the day, just for their own safety, they should not be in male prisons either.
Well, I don't even know, to be honest.
Well, what do you think is going to happen? Men get raped in male prisons. What do you think is going to happen to someone when they find out they got a vagina in there?
Well, I don't think I know of many, if any, trans men that are like trying to get sent to male prison anyway. I think
nobody's trying to get sent to prison.
Well, you know what I mean, though. Like they get done for something, and they.
I'm not saying that as criminal as trans women. I'm saying that like at the end of the day, when we're covering the bases and we're trying to figure out the ins and outs of the situation.
Well, no one thinks about it the other way. They just because no one gives a fuck about men's spaces, so it's only ever spoken about in terms of like trans women in women's prisons. No one gives a fuck about trans men in this regard, and most trans men.
Yeah, a lot of times they don't. And to be fair, I will say a lot of times it is kind of irrelevant because they're competing against men that they can't necessarily compete with. But I think that there is elements where it should be considered. So, for instance, like when it comes to criminal situations, which is obviously more unlikely than the other way around. But when it does happen, you don't want to be sending fucking trans men to a male prison. Like, you actually just don't want to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I've seen any cases yet, to be clear, but
no, there has been in America. There's been a couple. There was one trans man that was sent to a male prison in what state was it? I want to say it's Florida, but I can't. That's a hazy memory. I can't remember if it was Florida or not. But they were raped 2,000 times. I remember that part of the headline. Until they took them out. They took them out because they're trans, because they were like, okay, you're actually like they had to like figure it out. This is part of the reason why there was like a big backlash in certain parts of America about the prison stuff. Was to do with stuff like this.
Do you mind if I use the toilet very quickly?
No, you go right ahead. You go right ahead.
I'll be right back. Like 1 minute.
Go for it. We'll see if anyone's in the chat. I don't think so. We've got 4 people watching. Hey. Mischief's in the chat. What up? That bloke's eyes are too close together. I wish I knew who... Are you on about the geezer in the video here with the dark hair? He looks like Ross from Friends. By the way, guys, if you're in the chat, please get in the chat. We will be responding to chat. But But yeah, we're getting caught up in a lot of stuff. I wasn't sure how much we were going to get into the minutiae of trans stuff, but I quite enjoy it though. Like Mary, I love Mary to bits, and I'm very happy that we can talk about this in a reasonable way. It's very difficult, obviously, with a lot of like kind of trans activist type people. Obviously, Mary's not necessarily one of those people. But we need more voices who can have these reasonable discussions, who can be on the side of reality, you know? We need more of that. So big respect to Mary. What up?
Hi.
Hi. Right. Okay. Let's move on to the next story. So, we're heading into the British justice system dystopia that we've got going on. It's been going on for a long time, actually, but it's become more and more prominent. So I don't know if you heard about this story or not, but Labour MP Mike Amesbury has been jailed for 10 weeks for punching a constituent. Somebody in his own constituency. He didn't even go anywhere else to punch somebody. He went in his own constituency to punch people. Sneering, "You won't threaten your MP again, will you?" Lucy Connolly, pictured in the right here, wrote a nasty post on X, deleted it, and got jailed for 2 years, 7 months.
Ouch.
Let that sink in.
Do we get what the post was?
Here we have the violent altercation. This is in Cheshire. It's my old stomping grounds.
Ah, yeah.
So, the reason I wanted to bring this in is because I've noticed for a very long time in this country, there's been a very uneven way that justice is done in this country. And it's beyond the Tommy Robinson bullshit. It goes back a very long time. And I think it's partly to do with the fact that we don't have a constitution. We don't have like a ground set of rules that say these are things that are good or bad, or things that we should weigh up in severity and stuff like that. We've got a justice system that basically is at the discretion of the politicians and whatever suits them at any given point in time. That's the kind of justice system we've got at the moment, which is probably one of the most abusive kind of systems you can possibly have. This person, just to put it in context, my uncle sexually abused me as when I was a teenager. Okay? He got 2 years for that. He also groomed me from when I was a very young age. He got 2 years for that. This lady, for a tweet, 2 years, 7 months. Okay. What's the messaging to society when you're creating a justice system like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, I don't know. Obviously, I need to know what it said and stuff like that.
I think
But
she may have said a slur. May. I don't
It
even
was
know if
really
she did
bad,
say a
yeah.
slur, but she may have said a slur.
Like, I have like very specific kind of things that I think that free speech is probably falls short of, and that's things like, you know, inciting violence, especially
Sure.
against like a person or group of people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I I don't know, man. I don't see the point in jailing people for stuff like that.
I'm a free speech advocate in the sense I'm not an absolutist. I agree in that you shouldn't be able to lie, slander. What was it you just said a minute ago about like You shouldn't be able to incite violence. Sorry, you shouldn't be able to incite violence and stuff like that. I do agree to certain levels of restriction, but these are these are for the extreme cases. Otherwise, whether it's a slur or whatever, you should be able to say your opinion, whatever that may be, even if it is offensive. I don't think that should be a jailable offense.
Okay, so they said something like set fire to hotels housing immigrants. Like, that's pretty fucked up.
That's an incitement to violence then, okay?
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know about jailing people for stuff like that. Like, it's a fucked up thing to say. But I mean, people say like fucked up shit all the time on the internet. And this is just someone that got caught, I guess.
I guess it's a case by case basis. But if you've got someone who stands by that and continuously puts stuff like that out, then you should probably be able to prosecute them because they're inciting violence. If somebody said something like that in the heat of the moment and then deleted it, like she did, like right after, and was like, you know what, I shouldn't have said that, I'll delete it. I don't know if we should be bringing the boot down on people like that.
Yeah, I mean, surely, like, anyone who's saying like violent shit and stuff like that, if there's a pattern, if they're constantly doing it, then they probably need like investigating to see if they're like actually
extremists or something. Yeah,
you know, if they're like terrorists or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah,
but like,
but then we've got the contrast in this post though. You can say that, okay, maybe she is inciting violence. Okay, we can say that there should be a punishment for inciting violence, but what should the punishment be versus somebody actually doing violence?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So she might have said this thing that she deleted. Why should she be getting 2 years, 7 months for saying it, and this MP be getting 10 weeks for actually punching somebody and actually attacking somebody?
Yeah, like if this Lucy Connolly person got banned off of X for doing this, then I wouldn't feel bad for them. But that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah, sure.
Like 10 weeks is like, I don't know.
It should be the other way around, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, if anything.
It should be the other way around. She should have got 10 weeks. He should have got 2 years.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. I mean, I don't know that I'd send her to jail for that at all. But like,
I mean, I would say I think there should be punishments for incitement to violence. I actually do agree with that, but I don't think that they should be more severe than actual violence.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what do you normally get for assault if you assault someone in the UK?
Barely anything. Most of the time, nothing. I've been in a bunch of fights.
Okay, I just
most of the time, if nobody's pressing charges, which most people don't, nothing happens most of the time.
Obviously, that guy would have pressed charges.
Yeah, that's why it's happened. Yeah, 100%. Well, sometimes, especially if it's been caught on camera as well, or if it's seen by police, it can be prosecuted by the state as well.
Yeah, so it kind of seems like he got maybe a realistic sentence, but compared to the other one, it's pretty insane.
See, I just think like we gotta be way more hard on the violent crime, and we've basically just got to get rid of all this stuff to do with speech and stuff like that. It's complete waste of police time. Complete waste.
I think for the most part, yeah, I can see why they investigate certain kinds of people, but at the same time, there's a difference between that and someone who just was spouting off on Twitter because it was well, I mean, that's when the riots were going on, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that's why she said it. Yeah, because of that situation.
So
yeah.
There's an awful lot of people saying a lot of crazy shit, and people going out and doing some crazy shit. I wasn't for like people rioting. I thought that shit was crazy.
It was pretty crazy.
These people all swept up in something. You know?
I really need to go to the toilet. I'll be two seconds.
Okay.
I've had too many beers. I've broken the seal.
Yeah, I get it. Don't worry. Hi, Miss Chief. You doing good? We have the Magna Carta. I'll tell him that when he comes back. I don't know if he's checking chat. Anyway, how are we doing? How are we doing? Make sure you like the stream. You should like the stream and follow. You should subscribe to Christ's Scourge. That's going to be difficult for me to say, but you should do that. That's what I think. Have I been out? We went out for lunch, yeah. We went to this Chinese place down the road. It was pretty good, to be fair. But we normally go and see my nephew and like Charlie's
We're back. We're back. Sorry about that.
Am I quiet?
I don't know. You're coming through okay to me. I don't know what the chat might say. You're really
Apparently I'm
quiet.
quiet.
Actually, I turned you up on my side.
You can normally see on like Streamlabs or OBS like the how high it's going up or whatever.
Yeah, I've turned you up a bit more.
Okay.
Should be okay on
I'm
Streamlabs.
not gonna be too loud now. I'll keep an eye on the chat.
Here we go. I'll turn you up on here as well. All right. Ow. Right. Is everything okay? I'm getting like super paranoid about the stream now. Every time I like touch something, I'm like, have I broken it somehow?
I wouldn't worry.
I don't think so. No, you become a black screen. No, you're back. You're back. Okay, we're okay. We're fine. Alrighty then. So, yeah. So, the reason I wanted to bring this in was because it's just it's something that highlights to me the way our justice system works in this country is just very all over the place. It's not consistent. It doesn't seem to have any principles or values behind it. It just seems to be whatever is just convenient at any given point in time. I just think it needs something more to it. I think it needs a big overhaul in all respects. I think there needs to be a focus on violent crime. I think there needs to be a defocus on like low level not certain like theft and stuff they should still care about, but like just low level kind of crime like speech crimes or whatever the fuck they want to do. All this kind of stuff. I think they're just they're wasting a lot of time on a lot of stuff that is just unnecessary.
Yeah, true.
And I think we need to refocus our justice system onto what is actually serious, what is real, what do we actually need to care about in society. I think our justice system has been flying under the radar for a long time, without people really challenging it. And I think we do need to really seriously look at it because I think it's completely out of whack. We're actually overloaded with prisoners, but the vast majority of them are in there for low-level crimes. Like, it's insane. And then people who have serious crimes are getting pushed out to bring in new people who have less serious crimes. It's just really, really fucked up, stupid way of doing things.
Yeah, because they weren't building more prisons and stuff, were they?
No, and we've got like a complete overload. Like basically, our prisons can't house the amount of people who are criminals.
Yeah,
that's basically what's happening. It's insane what we've got going on here, and it's basically because of these kinds of laws that are criminalizing these basic things that should not even be criminal in the first place.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of like shoplifting where you're at?
Oh yeah, mate. I used to work in the co-op, right?
Oh, my partner works there.
Yeah, fuck. They pay good, you know. They actually pay pretty good. But I will say,
he's not saying that much, but
I wouldn't say obviously it's not like top tier pay. I just mean in terms of the retail work you could be doing, it pays pretty good. But we used to have a front counter, and people would come in, like, so the door would be there, they'd come in, We have a front counter, and then on the left-hand side is all the booze, right? It's all like vodka, fucking, whiskey, all that shit, yeah? It's all down there. They'd come right in front of us, in front of the desk, go to the spirits, basically just grab everything, put it in a massive bag, and just walk out. And they knew we couldn't do anything about it. And then we'd call the police. The police wouldn't show up till about an hour. And then they'd find all the, like the things they put on the bottles, like the tags things that they put on the bottles. Yeah. They'd find all them just, like, lobbed all over the place down the road. And that's it. No, I mean, it's done and dusted.
Yeah, it's pretty bad around here as well. Like, Charlie's store's getting quite a lot of them. They won't get, like, security there for some reason.
Yeah, they can't. A lot of times the insurance companies won't allow it.
Well, some other branches do, apparently. Like, it depends
if
on,
they're
like,
in
how
bigger
much
places, they'll spend the money for it. But in, like, the little towns and the little places, they won't bother.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same with Tesco's and all them kind of things. Like, they're a bit obviously more upmarket. Like, they got more money, so they have it a lot more. But yeah, it's difficult out there, man, because it's a bit like California in the UK. Like, basically, if you're robbing and stuff, they don't really police it. It's a bit like California in the UK. Not as bad, but it's close.
They do supposedly, like, try and police it, but there's a lot of it going on at the moment, and they're probably not catching anywhere near as what's out there.
If you look at the clearance rates for, like, theft, like, in terms of as a crime, it's just as low as, like, rape and stuff. It's like 2%, 3%. It's like, it's really low.
Yeah.
How much they clear it. So people know shit like that. But moving on, more into the British dystopia. I don't know if you heard about this story or not.
A little bit.
But the NPCC DEI, whatever the fuck that even means, I've never even heard of that before. Has agreed.
DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I'm assuming that's what it meant, but I didn't know if DEI meant some kind of other thing to do with the police. Department
It'll be the diversity, like, department of the NPCC. They'll have a department, or they'll contract out some fucks who'll, like, teach you how to not say guys and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
That kind of thing.
Has agreed that trans-identified men with a GRC. What does that mean?
Oh, gender recognition certificate.
So they've changed their birth certificate.
Yeah, so, like, legally they're now considered a female.
Right.
Like, if you get a gender recognition certificate. So, like, if I got married, because I don't have one, I'd be like Charlie's husband. Whereas if you've got a gender recognition certificate, legally you can be someone's, like, wife, for example.
Yeah. I feel like it's pretty hilarious that you would say that you're the husband, though.
Yeah, maybe.
I think you should just do that for the lols,
Well, I don't know. I mean, Charlie's a bit, like, gender dysphoric in the other direction, so we kind of treat it almost like that,
Oh, she's trying to be the husband.
Yeah, in a way. And I mean,
she's trying to muscle in on this husband action.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie's the breadwinner. I'm the one that cooks everything, like.
Right. But that's why it's more funny that you're the husband, though.
I'm like a house husband,
Yeah, it's funny, man. Right, okay, so men with a GRC should be able to search female detainees. And when they say search, they mean strip search. That's what they mean. Yeah. So a man with a bit of paper that cost $5. This is what this guy is saying, okay? I just grabbed this tweet, okay? I don't necessarily endorse what this man is saying. So a man with a bit of paper that cost $5 can strip search a woman with state backing. It's hard to express just how repugnant this is. So I shared this because it just linked to the article, to be honest. But
yeah.
But trans police officers are set to be allowed. What the hell? Oh, I can't continue to read this.
That's the Tory graph.
No!
Yeah, you'll notice it starts out as ones with GRC, and then it goes to just trans police officers. It's interesting.
Well, I mean, that's the idea, right? The idea is that I don't know. Is this actually been agreed that this is going to be allowed, or?
Yeah, I mean, according to the tweet, and I mean, I guess the steel man for it would be that like if they've gone to all the trouble getting like a GRC and stuff like that, they probably kind of are sincere in their transition. But then on the other side, you'll have that women are still not potentially going to feel comfortable with it and might still feel violated. And they might not see that person as different from like a man, depending on who it is and like what they look like and how they come across and stuff.
Well, I think realistically, we don't even know the machinations of the people that say they're trans as well. So it's not to say that all trans, and this is the same with like how we treat men around children, right? It's not to say that all men are predators. It's just that some men are predators. We don't know who they are, right?
Yeah, of course. You don't know who's who, you know.
So there's an element of wariness, especially when you're putting someone in a position of authority like the police. And we already know that male police officers can abuse that power at times. They have abused that power at times. How are we then going to tackle that if we're now calling trans women or saying that trans women can now do these things?
Yeah,
when
I mean,
women
like,
are vulnerable.
On principle, I'm not sure I'm for it because I do think certain things should probably be like sex specific. You know what I mean? Like searching a woman, maybe that's something that a woman should do.
Yeah, and that's how it has been for a while. That's how it has been.
Like the counters will be like there's not going to be that many trans police officers.
Yeah.
Probably not likely to be that many because there's a lot of anti-police sentiment in like trans communities.
Yeah, for sure.
So like the hope is it wouldn't affect very many people. Obviously, you don't know what would happen if lots of trans people did decide to go to the police or if a man did decide to transition in the police and then use his power that way because all of that kind of stuff is possible.
Yeah. But then it's
So
like,
kind of
it's more difficult. Because, like, if he was just a normal man abusing that power, that might be easier to contend with. If it's a trans woman that's abusing that power, how easy is it going to be for the police to contend with that? Like, especially on, like, a public scale.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you'll never know. Like, it's always going to be difficult. I don't know. Like, I find it hard to sell any of that kind of stuff anymore because ultimately I do agree that trans women are male and, you know, men ultimately.
Yeah. And again, I struggle with it because I hate the narrative that men are just predators in waiting and all that kind of stuff. I do think it's highly sexist, highly bigoted. At the same time, though, we cannot ignore that these crimes exist and that they are more prevalent with men than women. So, like, at the end of it's not that I don't have the opinion that all men are predators, but I do understand that some men are. So I do think, especially when it comes to positions of authority like the police, I do think it's very like you should be very wary of what you allow with that power. And if you are now, you don't allow normal male cops to do strip searches on women, but you'll allow a trans woman to do one, I think you are opening the gates a little bit. And I think the big issue that we've had in society so far is because we're trying to nip it in the bud. Like a lot of trans activists will be like, well, there's not even any evidence of this happening or blah blah blah. But we've got enough evidence of males abusing their power to know that males will abuse their power at some point or another. Not all of them will, but a substantial amount will. And that still holds true for trans women too. So we have to take that into account when we're dealing with this stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to be sensitive to what any woman is going to be like. Like some of them are going to have reasons why they might not want to be strip searched by a male person. They might perceive someone as a male person.
I just think it should just be a blanket rule in the first place. It just should be a blanket rule in the first place.
Yeah, I mean,
it should be a sex-based thing.
I don't know if I see the point, like, unless there's that few female officers that we're going to have to start needing some of them to become women so that they can search for women. I don't know.
Okay, I mean, as a matter of resources, you should, in terms of like manpower, if you don't have enough manpower, at a certain point, you're just going to have to do searches as you do them, right?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I for me, it's a hard sell. I don't really see why we need that kind of thing. But like, yeah, the hope is that it's not really a problem, and I don't know how much of a problem it will end up being, if that makes sense.
I don't know if it'll be a huge problem necessarily. I think it's more that it's difficult to know when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like, you're basically saying, like, usually wherever possible, males do not do strip searches on females, right? Wherever that is humanly possible with the police. That's the policy as it was before now, right? Now it's the policy that males can do strip searches on females if they claim to be trans. And then it's not just about how it happens now, but what does that look like in 30 years?
Yeah, I mean, that's why hopefully like the GRC thing will at least mitigate that. If they made it a self ID thing, if you decide you're a woman, you can now strip search women. Like, that would be completely insane. So I think
even with the GRC, I see the problem
Yeah.
personally. Even with the GRC, I see the problem. But
There's
you're
still,
right.
There's still a potential, yeah.
The GRC is a barrier, so I see that as a limiting factor. However, I still see the same problem arising. But you're right to say that if the activists get their way, then it will just be a self-ID situation, because that's ultimately what they want.
Well, possibly with this, I don't know specifically. I don't know if they're that.
Well, they want that
invested
in all
being able to
facets
search
of
women,
society. They want that in all
in
facets
general,
of society.
yeah, totally.
They want that in the police. Wherever trans people are, they want them to be considered women in every single context, no matter what.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So that means being able to strip search women as police officers and stuff, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm for this, to be clear.
I'm totally against it. To me, it's a sex-based thing again. It's a sex-based thing again. To me, it's like, wherever... Obviously, sometimes you're going to have to do strip searches on women just because you have to, right? It's just the nature of the situation. You don't always know when you're going to find a criminal or do a certain thing, right? But wherever it is actually possible, they do use women. There's a fair amount of women in the police these days.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary to have this policy. It seems a bit fucking ridiculous, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's kind of... You wonder why we'd need it, I guess.
Yeah, it just seems like a way to kiss the ring of the trans activists, to be honest.
Well, maybe.
Anyway, trans people yet again in the news this week. I told you there was a few. There was a few. More than I remembered, but there is a few here. This one's a little bit more morbid than the other ones, though. So strap yourself in here. Redux reports a transgender paedophile currently housed in a women's prison in Canada is under investigation for sexually assaulting 2 female inmates. Carissa Marie Radcliffe is serving a rare, indeterminate sentence for raping multiple young girls. So let's just break this down for a second so we can understand what's happening here. In Canada, they're obviously much more progressive than a lot of Western countries are very progressive, but Canada is even more progressive than that. Okay, just so we can get that in perspective. And they will easily do things like put trans women, in female prison. And they've been doing this for a while. They put a known child rapist, a female child rapist, in a female prison. This is the kind of governments that we're dealing with right now. To me, I feel like we're living in a weird world right now, where like we've got these kind of like hyper right-wing types with the Trump stuff rising up. But then we've also got these kind of hyper-progressive enclaves as well, like Canada. But the thing that's interesting about it is that they don't even recognize their own issues. Like a progressive, like this seems like a natural conclusion to doing the policy that they do, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, it should be obvious as to why that's ridiculous.
Putting a child rapist into a female prison because they say they're trans.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that trans prisoner didn't get like set upon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But again, it's a situation where we don't even know what this trans person looks like. They could be a brick shit house. You know what I mean? And they're coming in
name?
like a brick shit out, like as in like a massive guy.
No, what's their name?
Oh, I don't know. A paedophile who raped a 13-year-old girl he met at an Ottawa coffee shop.
I think if you scroll up, it'll say.
Does it? Carissa Marie Radcliffe. Carissa Marie Radcliffe.
Having a look.
Yeah, let's do a little bit of a deep dive here. But to me, this is a failure of the system. This is a failure of the system here. This is progressive ideology gone wild. This is what I'm trying to do here. The through line that I'm trying to give from like the last few stories that we've had is like the hysteria around certain aspects of the trans community. The way that they want it, the way they want everyone to perceive them, the way that they want things to be, it actually exacerbates this kind of issue. So right now, we've got an issue like this. It's a 1 in a million situation right now. But it could become, in 30 years' time, if we don't do anything about it and we let everything go the way the trans activists want them to go, we could be looking at this as like an endemic situation, right?
Yeah, I've been kind of saying that about the sports kind of stuff. One of the big arguments is like, well, there's not very many of them. Oh, you're banning almost nobody, so what's the point? And it's like, well, then how many of these people does there need to be before you'll decide it's an issue?
Yeah.
And it's the same, like, you wonder how many, like, transgender pedophiles in women's prisons will it take before someone will start saying, well, hey, there's a bit of an issue. There's a bit too many male pedophiles in the women's jail. You know what I mean?
You know, we got over 2,000. 2001. That's a bit too many.
But yeah, I mean, if someone's saying, oh, well, it's not a problem because there's only like 1 or 2 of them, well, it's like, well, then how many of them? It's like people want to go down the list of arguments.
Yeah.
It has to be enough that they deem it matters. But it's like, well, wouldn't you rather stop it before it becomes that much of a problem? Because like all those like trans pedophiles in the women's prison, they're probably not good to be in there, you know?
Yeah. And I think it should come down to a principle as well. It's not even about like, because the way they're looking at it is like utilitarian, right? Utilitarian.
Yeah.
They're like harm or whatever. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't consider that. You obviously should. But at the same time, you have to look at what's probable as well. It's not even just about what is harmful, but what is probable. And if you're going to put any men, no matter what form they take, into a female prison, especially when you're locking them up for years on end, you're basically begging for horrible things to happen. That's what you're basically doing.
Yeah, there was someone in California, I think, that was like impregnating women and stuff like
that.
Yeah,
there
like,
was.
I think it's a non-starter. Like the way I see it. So like the counter argument is that trans women are more likely to experience things like sexual assault in jail.
Sure. And that is true. I actually agree with that, by the way. I think that is true.
Yeah. But trans women aren't the only like demographic of like men, because that's what they are.
Yeah.
They're not the only demographic of men that might experience like more sexual assault. So like, you know, effeminate gay men, stuff like that might well do. Just smaller men even.
Twinks.
But they wouldn't have that option, would they? Of like going to the women's jail instead.
Yeah.
But they have the same problem. So it doesn't really make sense, because then what are we basing it on? We're basing it on someone's like gender identity, like what they say they are, and that's not good enough in my opinion.
No, it's not. I mean, this is the problem we're running into with self-ID in general. Is like it's never going to line up with like what's really happening.
Well, you just don't know if someone's being honest. You don't know if it's in earnest in any case.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, we run into this. I guess we could say that we run into this problem with every mental illness. You could say, to an extent, but I think there are fundamental like realities to sex that we have to acknowledge. It's a bit like acknowledging that water is wet, you know?
Yeah.
I think we've got to have that kind of mentality when it comes to gender and sex as well. And acknowledge, like, so for instance, like if you're going to put males who have clearly different libidos, clearly different sexual patterns to women, put them in a single sex prison with them. Like, what are you really thinking is going to happen here? Like, what? It's not that all of them are going to do it. Maybe you'll put some prisoners in there and they'll be okay. They won't rape anybody. But like, that's not the point, is it? It's not the point. It's like the point is having a blanket ban for a general protection, right? So that it doesn't happen in the first place at all.
Yeah, because I guess the counter argument obviously is that it'll happen to them possibly in the female prison.
But the thing is, it's already happening to men, like you said.
Yeah,
it's already happening to men.
Like I said, it's like the fact that people believe that trans women have this out because they're trans women. But then we get into what defines a trans woman. It's very difficult to.
It's very murky.
It's difficult to what's the word? Like justify, really.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're trans, you probably should just not fucking commit any crimes because it's going to be complicated, isn't it?
Yeah.
Listen, a lot of things very complicated.
Like, and you know what? This is flies in the face of like the kind of anarchist kind of trans cohort. Is that there's like a phrase, isn't there, where it's like "be gay, do crimes," right?
Yeah, it's not a good idea if you're trans. I mean,
yeah.
There's things that are just more complicated if you're trans, and you have to just get used to that. Like, there seems to be a lot of privileges that people have enjoyed that perhaps some of them are going away now, but I don't know. To me, it's like I made this decision. I'm kind of bucking societal trends or whatever.
Yeah.
It's me that's going to be the problem occasionally. I just have to get used to that. That's kind of how I feel.
No, I agree. And I felt that way even when I was doing drag and stuff. Like, I remember people would try to drag me into... They tried to pen me in... Because the trans stuff was coming up. They would try to peg me into the same kind of stuff. Like, they would try to... There was many times where people were like, "Oh, do you not think this is like to do with like a whatever?" Like they tried to frame me into like a trans perspective or something like that. And I also noticed a lot of people tried to start to use me as like a prop. People wanted to invite me to events and stuff like that, not because they thought I was talented or I could do something good. They just wanted like a kind of progressive brownie point thing where they could have a drag queen there.
You're literally a token.
Yeah.
You're the token drag queen.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And the thing is that I wasn't trying to even do any of that. I'm not trying to muscle in on the gay drag queen scene. I'm a straight guy.
Yeah.
I'm more a cross-dresser, I guess. I'm not trying to muscle in on their scene. Although I could probably do a pretty mean lip sync if I really wanted to. But I'm not I don't know. Like, I guess they just didn't understand that there was different levels to this shit, but like, yeah, I don't know, man. I just didn't like that feeling. I didn't like that feeling that I was being treated as almost like a commodity in a way. And I saw that like that would happen to a lot of trans people. Like, it became endemic in the culture of trans people that like if you out yourself as a trans person, now you've become like a marketable brand or something. Like it's something you can build on. You can build like a platform on coming out as trans.
Yeah. I mean, well, you've seen YouTubers make shit tons of money off of it, you know.
Yeah.
Like if you do it correctly, then there's a lot you can gain from it. And people will say that, oh, you're taking on all this like not privilege, like prejudice and stuff like that. But if in the right circles, like transitioning can be like the best thing you ever do in terms of like clout and shit like that.
Oh yeah.
And the thing is, like those kind of trans spaces, just they kind of other cis people, if you know what I mean. They like other
Oh
them.
yeah. Oh
So,
yeah,
like,
they love to hate on
cis
cis
people are just kind of
yeah.
invisible in those spaces. So if you want attention, then that's pretty much what you're gonna have to do if you run in those kind of woke circles. And like
Yeah.
I've known like just random women who like call themselves like non-binary and stuff, and then therefore trans, and then want to take on all like the so-called struggle and shit like that. And it's kind of annoying, honestly.
I don't think so, sister. Better sit your ass down. No, I know. I've seen all this stuff too. Like being on like the fringes of like, because I was an art student. I'm a musician. I'm all about the progressive, creative side of life. All that kind of shit. I was involved in all that stuff growing up. And so that's why I'm so knowledgeable about like what they think and feel about the whole thing. Like I'm not coming at it as like some ignorant Republican person. Like I was literally there at the squat parties. You know what I mean? Like I was literally there. So but I just saw how insane it started to get. Like I remember there was distinct points during my time dealing with people from like different backgrounds of like I say, like these kind of artistic backgrounds and stuff. And I remember there were certain points in time where just acknowledging that males and females are different started to become like this taboo. It wasn't a taboo when I was younger, and as I got older, it started to become more of a taboo to say stuff like that.
Yeah, we've like convinced a lot of people that when someone's saying, "Oh, well, a woman is a woman and a man is a man," that's kind of a wink, wink kind of thing. That it's like that's what I'm saying is like trans people aren't real and stuff, which I guess is an interpretation.
No,
But
trans people are real.
we read something else into like everything that a lot of these people say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, trans people are real, but to me, they're real like Christians are real. You know what I mean? Like
I think
they have,
so, yeah.
like they have a belief, and that's fine. A lot of the times, the belief is fine in pretty much most contexts, except when you're trying to muscle in on other people's rights. That's why people don't like Christians when they're muscling in on people's rights. And that's why you have to have a secular society to try and stop them.
Same with any group, yeah.
Yeah. But then trans people have got their own religious beliefs about how gender works and all that stuff. But they don't want to recognize that it is a religious belief. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you'd get someone to kind of argue in good faith on that kind of point, honestly.
Like, I don't even think most of them conceptualize it that way. They don't believe it's a faith. They don't believe it's a faith-based thing.
But they tend to take it too literally and assume that you must think that they worship some kind of god or something, when it's not really about that, and it's more about belief in like an unfalsifiable, you know?
Exactly. And I'm a religious person myself. I believe in God. Yeah. But I also know that my belief is a religious belief. I'm not trying to force it on somebody. I'm not trying to say, you have to believe what I believe. Otherwise, we're going to get the hate police on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not what we're trying to do.
You get some atheists that treat Christians that way, that like, oh, they're kind of forcing their beliefs. And maybe that's more common in the US, I guess. Because like, here, I kind of went through my edgy atheist phase in like primary school. Because we used to have to sing hymns. And me and this one kid, there was a song that was like, God created the whole wide world. He's
got the whole world in his hands.
And then me and this other kid would be like, oh, no, he didn't. Like, to ourselves whenever we had to sing these like hymns and stuff.
Right.
Like, we're thinking this is edgy because we're like the atheist kids.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, like religion has never been very like oppressive in my life. So I've never really had a problem with it, I guess.
Well, it has been in mine. I grew up a Mormon. And it was pretty oppressive in my life, but mainly from my parents, really.
Yeah.
So I can understand it to a degree. I can understand the kind of rebellion against religious ideals to a degree. But one thing I learned growing up though is that like there's some wisdom to it too. You know, there's some value in some of these religious teachings. Like,
Yeah, I'm open-minded, honestly. Like I listen to like music sometimes. It's by religious people, and they're talking about stuff that I can't really relate to in a lot of ways. But I'm interested in other people's perspectives. You know what I mean?
well, I see it as symbolic. So, like, when I look at religious stuff, not just Christianity, but a lot of stuff, I just see it as like a symbolic will of humanity to try
Yeah.
and create human flourishing. I think creating human flourishing is divine. I think that is what is divine. And I think that's what all
Yeah.
religions are trying to do. They're trying to create a system of morality and laws that
Yeah,
can
yeah, of course.
that can like create human flourishing. And I think they don't always do that well, but that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I
Mm.
mean, everyone thinks they're the good guy or whatever.
Yeah, some degree or other. But
Yeah, I mean,
anyway,
even like oh, sorry.
yeah, anyway, like this story, I thought it was interesting just because when we going through the gamut of like all these stories with like how trans people are kind of affecting the culture, I just kind of want to highlight like where this can go if we're not careful with how we talk about this and deal with this stuff. I think there's a place for trans people. I think there absolutely is a place for trans people in society. I think we can accommodate trans people in a large degree to what they want. But I think
yeah,
what
like
I think what
in most
Oh,
senses
sorry.
it doesn't matter, you know?
But I think though there are certain points like we've mentioned that the rubber hits the road and there has to be certain situations where we say no, it does matter the sex of people.
Yeah.
We do have to take this into account for certain situations. And at the end of the day, we have to actually just not care about how you feel about it. We just have to actually be able to say that in society. And the more trans people that can get on board with that and be like, okay, as long as we're not being like maligned, which is fair enough. I don't want trans people to be maligned necessarily. But I think like on official documents there should be sex markers. I think there should be sex segregated spaces for very particular things. I think there are sex-based rights that we should consider. And I think we should have that on the table. And I think trans activists need to start getting on the same page, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, I guess this is the more kind of black white perspective, like more about just kind of integrating into society, which I hope we're able to do. I think some compromise is necessary for sure.
I think it's totally possible. I think it was actually on the verge of happening maybe 15 years ago.
But like when I went out and worked and stuff, for the most part, I really didn't get any problems from anyone. Like some people I could tell were a bit funny with me, but like I don't know. I mean, my perspective is skewed because I kind of come across quite openly insane, quite honestly, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
But like people really didn't tend to often have a problem. It's like it's more of a minority that even really cares that someone else is trans, you know?
No, true. Same as when I was doing drag. Like I did get a couple of hostile people here and there, but the vast majority of the time, people were enjoying it, having fun.
Yeah.
So I don't base my experiences doing drag based on the few experiences that I had that were negative, and they were quite negative. I'm not gonna lie, they were pretty bad at times. But realistically, like it doesn't really outweigh it. So that's why I guess I just don't have the same. I guess my mentality is just a bit different when it comes to that. Like I don't base everything about, you know, how bad, if I had some bad experiences or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, let's get on to the next story. So this one's a little bit more morbid, but it speaks to the general theme that we've had going on with the dystopia that is the British justice system. Now, if you don't know, we've had some serious issues in our country with grooming/rape gangs, otherwise known as Pakistani rape or grooming gangs. Now, they're named this way mainly because the vast majority of the perpetrators of this particular crime happen to be Pakistani. Now, there's been a certain situation going on in the country. We've had riots over this, where there's been all kinds of stuff going on. And there's been several instances where councils have asked for an inquiry into these crimes to have a deeper understanding of which officers were involved, who was involved, what groups do they know about, what information can we glean, basically, what can we get out of doing an inquiry here and figure out what's what. There's been a couple of denials. There was actually one of the denials that happened caused a bit of a riot not long ago. I think it was in Oldham. That caused an issue. But now we've got a situation where the mayor of London himself has denied an inquiry into rape and grooming gangs. And we can see here Labour, Lib Dem, and Green London Assembly members voted against a grooming gang inquiry in London with the Metropolitan Police, I'm guessing. And I think it does speak to... We've mentioned it a little bit before with some of the trans stuff, but this is going a bit broader now. But I do think there's a very deep issue in our country with how we actually go about adjudicating our justice system. There's a very terrible incentive for a lot of public officials to placate groups like Muslims and stuff like that. And that ends up turning into situations like this, where the councils of the country who are elected by the people who ask for an inquiry into crimes, mass crimes against the people, they're asking for inquiries into that and they get denied by the elites of the society.
Yeah, because to be clear, there was already a inquiry, isn't that right? A few years ago.
I don't know about London in particular, but there has been some inquiries into the rape gangs. I think it was mainly in Rotherham.
I think there was one in like Telford or something like that. I don't know. I was just having a look because I remember there was previously inquiries.
There has been a couple of inquiries, but the results of the inquiries have also not been followed as well. So like the suggestions...
I'm not sure about that.
Well, there were suggestions that came out of the inquiries in Rotherham and Telford. I think there was a couple of others as well, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But out of those inquiries, there were suggestions made by the teams to say we need to follow. We need to follow. They gave. I think it was a 17-step way of dealing with the issue, something like that. I think it was 17. The number 17 jumps out at me. But basically, they put out a thing to say this is like the step-by-step guide of how we need to deal with this. Literally, none of those suggestions that were given by these inquiry boards were ever taken on board by any police force in the country.
Yeah, that I'm less that alone I know less about, to be clear.
Fair enough. Well, it's been a bit of an ongoing issue, and I think like this situation, it does show that there's a pushback in the higher ranks of society against actually investigating what they may have allowed to happen under their watch. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm keeping my eye on this kind of thing. I think I'm from the north of England myself. I've lived in Leeds.
Stuff going along. I'm sure there was like evidence that some of them were literally like sweeping away this kind of thing because they're worried about causing offense and stuff.
Oh yeah, there's hard evidence of stuff like that. Yeah, there is hard evidence of that.
Like that kind of shit is crazy for sure.
But now and this is what I mean, is it feeds into the issue, is that like when we've got a public officials like the London of the London of Mayor, the Mayor of London, denying an inquiry into these kinds of crimes in the City of London, it does make you go, well, why would you deny that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I guess if I had to like think about that, it's gonna cost money. It's gonna be work to do. They might feel like they won't.
Versus what
bring up
though?
much,
Versus what are we spending money on?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the government budget is.
What is Sadiq Khan spending the money on? If he's not spending it on inquiries to do with major crimes against the people.
I wouldn't know, unfortunately.
I don't know either. Maybe we should know. Maybe they should publicize this a little bit more. I don't know how you find this.
For like governments to be more open on what they're spending money on, for sure.
There does seem to be a transparency issue. Maybe it's our fault. Maybe we're ignorant. Maybe we can find this out. As far as I'm aware, I don't know if I can find this out.
Yeah.
So.
But he reminds me a bit of Philip Schofield.
He does look, doesn't he? Like.
I zoned out for a sec. I forgot I was looking at
the chicken tikka version.
That was you saying that, not me.
The chicken tikka version of Philip Schofield. But yeah, I don't want to dwell on this too much, but I just wanted to add it in as part of the line of the kind of through line we've been going through here. I feel like Britain is in a very dire place at the moment. I think it's not in a good place. We've got a pretty bad government. We've had a bad government for a long time, and now we've got another bad government. We're struggling in many ways. I don't know if we've got a lot of options. I don't even know if I did actually vote reform in the last election, just because I knew Labour were going to win. So I wanted to send a political message. But at the same time, I don't even know if I believe in them either. I don't know if they would deliver anything necessarily tangible to the country. So I feel like we're a little bit in limbo, it feels like, in the UK. I don't know about you, but it feels like we're kind of in a ship that's sinking and there's no real way to plug up the holes.
Oh, maybe. I'm a bit ignorant of a lot of the political stuff because most of the time throughout my life, I've just had much more pressing things to worry about. And I try and, like, what I'm trying to say with, like, a lot of the Donald Trump stuff, where lots of trans people, like, freaking out about him, is that life kind of goes on either way.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, I've kind of noticed it. Like, things just seem to slowly have been getting shitter and shitter for, like, years and years now. I mean, most of my adult life has been, like, the Tories and then now.
Yeah. Same.
Like, I don't know. Like, I get what people are saying. I think if you swear it too much, then you can kind of drive yourself crazy, I guess. That's kind of my perspective.
Yeah, but I don't know how you cannot send yourself crazy, because these people are crazy.
Well, yeah, everyone is.
So it's, I don't know, it's like a feedback loop. I'm going to run to the toilet real quick. I'll be back in 2 seconds, but then we'll move on to the next story.
How much longer did you want to go, just out of interest?
I've only got a couple more things here.
Okay.
I'll try and move through them.
I'm getting a bit tired, so if I'm a bit kind of...
No, it's all good. I'm also getting a bit tired, so don't worry. I'll try and get through these next ones as quick as we can.
Yeah.
I'll be 2 seconds. I'll be back in a sec.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, but like I'm fucking knackered. It's like it's gone 11 o'clock. John Bon Jovi turned 63. Oh wow. How are you all doing anyway? I'm glad Reverse is here too. Hi. Hi both of you. Hope we're all good. It is quite late for me, yeah. I'm losing my voice a bit, but I'm always losing my voice. I think the way that I talk is not good for my, my own voice. I don't know. So I always sound like this, but hey. Oh, hey, we were just talking about you.
Okay. Okay.
What?
We're
I
back.
didn't say anything.
What did you say?
Hmm?
Are you dissing me? How dare you?
Yeah. Yes. Repeatedly.
How dare you? Listen, I can't help it, okay? I've been drinking beer. Leave me alone.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so the next story. This is a bit tangential to everything else. We're just going through some new stuff. But the Pope's life hangs in the balance. We could be having a new Pope soon. I don't know if you've seen this or not. Got all these Catholics singing outside the Vatican.
So what's happening?
Well, the Pope's probably going to die soon.
Oh, wow. Fair enough.
And everyone's getting upset.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I am a bit curious about what the next Pope might be like, because this Pope, he's like a progressive, right? I don't know if you know much about the current Pope. Is it Francis?
I don't know a huge amount, no.
Well, he's been like kissing the feet of immigrants. He's like, he's like pro LGBT and all this kind of stuff. He's pro condoms. So he's like very different from a lot of other Catholic popes. A lot of Catholic popes are kind of against a lot of this stuff. He's been like, you could consider him to be like more of a progressive pope. I'm just a bit curious to know if, considering this wave of, like Trump coming up, and like there's a lot of right-wing groups that are growing in Europe and stuff like that.
Yeah. Could swing the other way for sure.
Yeah, I'm wondering if will the Pope reflect that? Will there be like a more right-wing Pope that comes into fruition? Or will there be an even more hyper-progressive Pope? Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, depends who it is, I guess.
I mean, I don't really know much about who's in line for being Pope, so
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know who they've got in line, but I thought it was noteworthy. The Pope, he's a big deal. He's big pimping in the world, So he's on his last legs. He's dying. A lot of popes, they're pretty old. They're usually dying at some point. So, yeah, I think this has got the Catholic congregation in a bit of an uproar. I don't know what they're expecting to come next, but we'll probably be keeping an eye on this. We'll see what Pope comes out of this. I think that's fairly significant in the world. Be interested to see what happens there. Yeah, okay. Next up, we've got Mr. Will Smith. So, this one we don't have to stay on for too long. But the reason I wanted to bring it in is because I've been following the Will Smith story with Jada Pinkett Smith for a long time. I don't know if you've been watching any of this stuff or not.
I remember like the slap and stuff like that.
The
I
slap.
remember. Have they been like on and off a little bit and like they're divorced or something?
No, they're married. But they have this like fucked up relationship where Jada Pinkett Smith is like massively emotionally abusive to Will Smith.
Oh wow. I had no idea.
And then he's gained like loads of complexes right around this. That's what led to that slap at the Oscars.
Yeah.
Right, is this like continual emotional abuse that his wife, because like he felt he had to do that to prove himself to his wife. You know what I mean? Like that's why he did that. Not to say it excuses him necessarily. He still made that decision. Like that's still up to him. I'm just saying his motivation was to do with that, right? So we've all been worried about Will Smith. I personally have a bit of a soft spot for Will Smith in my heart. I grew up watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I think Will Smith is a pretty stand-up guy in many respects. He tries his best to be a good father. I think that's very admirable. However, we all felt that maybe Will Smith has lost his self-respect. You know, he doesn't understand how to stand up for himself in a relationship or how to feel like a sexy man, you know. But today we have this clip, and I feel like it should give optimism to every man out there. Let's have a little. This is Will Smith performing his new single. Watch it. Oh, hello! So if you didn't quite catch that, I don't know who the hell this girl is, by the way. But Will Smith and this girl just had a very sexy kiss on stage. And I just like to think, you know what, Will Smith, I feel like maybe he's getting a little bit of his self-respect back. That's just my thought on it. I don't know. I guess you're not as invested on the Will Smith timeline.
I'm just not familiar, so I was just looking, see if I see someone called India Martinez. I don't know who this is.
I have no clue who she is.
I didn't know if I saw them kissing or like very nearly.
No, they kissed. Oh yeah, they kissed.
Right.
I think he didn't even know they were gonna kiss. The look on his face. He looks a little bit surprised, but then he carries on with the performance.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know as much about their relationship, I guess. Like, I don't know. I thought they were like separated or something. I don't keep up as much.
Well, as a men's rights activist who is trying to call out female emotional abuse in relationships, okay, Will Smith is like a case study in this situation. Like, not to say that he's perfect, by the way, but like, it's more that like, when you look at Jada Pinkett Smith, she almost comes off very sociopathic. Like, she comes off crazy. Like, if you want to, just for like the drama, I'm not gonna lie, if you watch this on your channel and you watch this on stream, like they had like these red table meetings, like a family meeting, but on stream. And they talked about
have a look sometime.
And they talked about Jada cheating on him and all this stuff with some other guy, and they're talking about it on stream with their kids there.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Mate, and Jada's the one that organized it. It's mad, mate. Honestly, it's mad. It's proper mad.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've heard things about them being like super weird, but then they're famous. They're in Hollywood. Like, they're all fucking crazy, I guess.
There's definitely some weird narcissism stuff. Jada Pinkett Smith used to date Tupac before he died.
Oh wow!
And she would say things in front of him like, "I would have married Tupac if he didn't die," and stuff like that in front of Will Smith, who's her current husband. It's like, mate, that is actually like psychologically abusive, in my opinion. Like, that's like so fucked up. But
didn't Will Smith do like a kind of gangster album? Was that maybe to try and like impress her or something?
He's tried to do some like street kind of sounding stuff. I actually know a lot about Will Smith's music. I grew up Mormon, right? So Will Smith was considered like a good rapper because he didn't swear.
Yeah.
Right? So I actually know a lot about Will Smith's music, right?
Yeah.
He did have a phase where he tried to go a bit street, but it just never was like that. You know what I mean? It was just never really like...
Yeah, he's too clean. He can't do like gangster.
Yeah, it just doesn't work, man.
It just doesn't work. It's not believable.
Like, don't get me wrong, he is actually a working class lad from a Philly background. Like, that is true.
Yeah,
but
he's
not a gangster though. He's not a gangster. He's just like,
yeah, he's a goofball.
Yeah, he's just a lad from round the way. You know what I mean? Like, he's not like a fucking crazy bastard. But but he's a good actor though. He is a good actor though, and I do actually appreciate. I think he does have. I do think he does have a pretty good heart generally. I think he wants the best for things, but I think he's got caught up in a toxic relationship. And it's really like shaped him, like psychologically.
Yeah.
And
I'd have to look into it, but yeah, like
Yeah, honestly, it's an interesting rabbit hole to go down. It really is.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting rabbit hole to go down. But this clip gives me a little bit of hope that maybe Will Smith is getting his self-respect back.
maybe. I mean, it looks a bit tragic from here, like an older man.
It's a
like
little
the young
cringe.
child.
It's a little cringe, but hey, sometimes you got to be a little bit cringe to get your groove back. Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
So I'm hoping and praying that Will Smith isn't any more cringe than he already is. But anyway, let's go back to the next story. Now this, I've been waiting to do this one. Okay. Okay, I don't even know how to introduce this segment, okay? Donald Trump posted a tweet. This is an AI video, right? This is an AI video that Donald Trump or his team has created. And it is their vision of what they think they're going to turn Gaza into. Right? This is like the propaganda video for like, hey, we've taken over Gaza. This is what we're going to do with it, right? So you're strapped in for this.
Yeah.
I've not seen this. Have you seen this?
I've not seen this.
I've not seen it either, but I've heard it's very funny. But I don't know exactly what we're going to see here, but I'm interested. Wait, oh shit. I think that might have fucked up thing. Right. Okay. What's next? They're gonna build caves to beach. Elon Musk is gonna be eating on the beach. Elon Musk is eating honey and bread on the beach in Gaza. We've got golden Trump heads, balloons flying in Gaza. What are you on? The White House, Donald J. Trump on Truth Social. He manages that account. That is him. That is literally him. He posted this.
Listen, he's a memer if nothing else.
He is one of the biggest memers of all time. For sure. Did you see that clip with him? With the woman? And now the person throwing money everywhere. Oh, this is going to be Gaza. Everyone throwing money all over the place on a beach. What are you on? What is this shit?
Like Dubai on steroids. Like
This is insane.
Give it 6 months and this is what it's going to be, I guess.
Because that is what has happened recently, right? America's come in and they've taken over Gaza, right?
Have they actually, like, gone there?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they've gone in with the military or not. I guess they have. But essentially, America has taken over the area that is called Gaza now. And then Israel have been told to pull out of the area. I'm pretty sure. Go on, Mary's going to fact check me right now. Mary's on the case. Mary's on the case.
Yeah, they're gonna take control over it at
Yeah.
the end of the fighting. But I mean, I guess I don't know if Hamas are down with that kind of thing.
Well, they've been
I don't know what's
releasing
gonna happen.
hostages. They've been exchanging hostages and all kinds of stuff
Yeah.
in the last few weeks. Been loads of stuff going on. So
yeah, I mean, geez, it's bold, I guess.
but this video is like, what do you think you're doing with Gaza at this point? Like, what is this? Trump Gaza number one. Trump Gaza number one. Oh my god. Trump Gaza shining bright. Golden future. Golden statue of Trump in the middle of Gaza.
Yeah, of course. They love him there. He's been historically very kind about Muslims.
Wow. Why did he post this? This is so crazy.
I'm like, I can't tell if I'm supposed to find this funny or like horrifying.
Yes, that's what I mean.
In one sense, it's like the worst taste like possible. But Jesus Christ, I don't know.
It's so
I don't think it's gonna come as I don't think it's gonna go as he hopes it will. Like I think it's a bit too complicated for that. But hey, I don't know.
it's never gonna be like this. No way. But it's just so ridiculous that they're even doing this. Like even if they even bothered to post this, it's like it's just so fucking weird.
You wonder where he got it from.
Why is Elon Musk in like every other one? Trump's not even in them that much. He's in it as like a statue, as like an idol. But then Elon Musk is in it as like a character.
Yeah.
Well,
he's everywhere, isn't he?
So bizarre. No, but there's like a mentality to that. There's like a symbolic mentality to that. Like, why would you pick Trump to be a statue and a balloon and an icon? But Elon Musk, like a man, like he's like in it like a man, like a character.
It's like the father and the son, isn't it? It's like you've got God is Trump and Jesus is Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's weird, mate. It's fucking weird. It's weird as fuck. It's so weird.
Gaza, #1.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, anyway, I didn't see it, so I just wanted to watch it while we were on the stream. But yeah, that is some fucked up weird shit. I have no idea what the fuck Trump's doing with this stuff. This is very weird stuff. Okay, so for the last segment, we've got something again. It's a little bit. We've had a little bit of a morbid show. I'm not gonna lie. We've had a little bit of a morbid show, but there's been some serious stuff that's happened this week. So it just happens to be this week. But we've had an FBI whistleblower that's come out of the woodworks here, who has confirmed that a source inside the FBI said FBI employees were destroying evidence on servers about the Epstein files.
Oh wow, crazy.
So if we go through here, there's a massive war happening in the intelligence agency right now. The corruption being exposed is actual treason. CNN now says that top leadership at the CIA are worried that anti-Trump personnel may be motivated to sell out America to a foreign power. Now, this is a slightly different issue. This is like disaffected people from like the government agencies who may go over to other countries. So that's not quite what we're talking about. The Epstein stuff. Where was the Epstein stuff?
Yeah, Charlie Kirk talking about the Russia hoax. I'm pretty sure there was like truth to all like the Russia stuff, like in terms of the election interference.
So they did actually release some Epstein files. I think it was yesterday or the day before. But then when everyone got them, they were all redacted. So like you got the Epstein files, but it was all black bars. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing to read. So, and the JFK files, I don't know when they're coming, but I'd be interested to see some of them. But apparently there are whispers in the wind that FBI agents are also scrambling to destroy evidence around the Epstein case as well, before that can be released. So, yeah, there's a lot of issues here. I don't know. This is something that I'm a bit weirded out by with like the Trump stuff, is that like people are expecting him to come out and like do all this stuff, and then when we get it, it's actually redacted, so we can't actually read it anyway. Yeah. So what's that about? You've got to start questioning that then, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, who knows if Trump has anything to do with that at all? Like,
he's got to be though, because he was speaking about it. He was speaking about making those things public.
Yeah, but is it him that's redacting all of it?
I don't know who's in charge of like what information is being made public or not necessarily, but he was but he was in favor or backing the idea that we're going to release these files. But then if you're going to release them in a fashion where there's no information to actually glean from them, like, is it a release?
Yeah.
Like, what is this? Like, what?
I don't know. He makes a lot of big promises. He talks a big game and then doesn't always deliver. I mean, you remember all the wall stuff? Like, what if that even actually happened? And he hasn't even bothered like going back to it this time.
That's very true. I will say that the wall rhetoric, he did actually build some of that stuff.
Yeah, bits and pieces.
Yeah, but it wasn't like you say, it wasn't like what he made it out to be. But I will say even the rhetoric itself stopped a lot of people coming in illegally. Like, they just didn't want to bother because they felt like it was going to be more difficult.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
No, it did. There was actually a significant drop in illegal immigration during that time in the first couple of years of his presidency, in the first term. So even if he didn't necessarily fulfill the vow, it still had the same kind of effect. So
yeah,
you know, you can't necessarily fault him for that, I guess. But he is trying to make it up. It feels like he's really trying to make it up now. Like, they're going in such a weird direction now. Like, have you seen the press conferences with him and Elon Musk and Elon Musk's kid, and he's like on his shoulders and stuff?
I haven't really. I don't keep up too much with like politics at the moment.
I've only seen clips, so I'm not sitting here saying I know everything, but I've just seen like some clips here and there.
Like Elon leaving his kid behind.
No, like, it's literally Elon Musk, Trump behind a desk. Elon Musk stood next to him, and Elon Musk's kid just like climbing all over the place like a little kid. And it's just very bizarre. It's like watching. It's like, you know, when you go to like your sister's house. I've got a sister with kids, yeah. You go to your sister's house and the little nephew's running around everywhere, and you're trying to have a chat about stuff that's going on recently. It's like that. I don't know, it's very weird. It's like a very weird, like, homey kind of thing, but they're talking about deep levels of amounts of government corruption where they're like spending loads of money on like Iranian Sesame Street and stuff like that. It's like very bizarre stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I heard a bit about that Sesame Street thing, and I think the kind of argument for that was something like it's a relatively small outlay, and it's, you know, it's things that kids are watching instead of whatever terrorist propaganda they otherwise would be watching.
I can actually see an argument for some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sit here saying that every single thing about it is bad. I can actually see a little bit of an argument for like putting out your own propaganda into other countries.
Yeah, because it's in place of like terrorists. I don't know if you've ever seen, like, for example, Hamas sponsored like kids television.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh mate, it's off the chain. It's off the chain. The groypers would love it. But but yeah, it's like you've got to counteract it somehow, right? And I do understand that, like, that's what we're trying to do. However, there is lots of things that do just seem wasteful. Like, there's loads of like contracts that just get added on and on when they should have ended the first year, or like, but they've been going on for like 30 years. Like, loads of like mad waste and like people obviously doing kickbacks for other people and stuff like that. Yeah, I do think it's good what they're doing. I think it's a little bit sketchy in like how much authority they're taking for themselves. That's a little bit sketchy. However, in terms of what they're actually doing with the power they've been given, I'm actually fairly in favor of a lot of it. It does seem like they are trying to root out like what are we actually doing here with money? Like, what are we actually really doing as a country?
Yeah, so as in like the getting rid of US aid and stuff like that. I think like the way I see it, I think Trump does a lot of like broad strokes and stuff like that. And I don't know what scrapping a whole bunch of stuff like that is gonna do. Like, you're potentially losing a lot of foreign influence if we're getting rid of things like that Iranian Sesame Street thing.
Well, I think they're probably keeping it case by case basis. So the things that they think are probably more relevant or noteworthy, they'll probably keep. and then certain things that they think are frivolous, they're going to get rid of.
Yeah, I guess it's going to depend how they do it in that case. Obviously, if
Yeah.
they're doing it case by case, it's going to take longer and cost more. I don't know. He seems a bit more. Maybe there's like vibes based as fuck. I don't know. He seems a bit more like he likes sort of quick solutions, where it's like, well, there's two genders now, so just fucking figure it out or something.
I feel like it's a bit of both. I feel like they can be systematic when they want to be, and then there's times where they can be very flippant with what they want to do as well. And that goes for both Elon and Trump in different situations, I guess. But yeah, they can definitely be. It feels very systematic when it comes to the spending. Then it can feel sometimes frivolous when it comes to some of the social stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see the results if they're going to scrap loads of foreign initiatives and stuff. We'll see what the backlash to that is and how it affects things, you know.
Yeah, time will tell. Time will tell how this all goes down. I'm very skeptical myself about how. I think they're definitely going to save some money in terms of like frivolous things. However, we don't know the full impact of like pulling back on those things. What that's going to have. Like, what impact is that going to have? So, time will tell. Time will tell what happens from all this. But at the same time, I think it's kind of important that it's happening. It feels very exciting. It feels like a moment in history in a way, where the curtain is kind of being revealed back. You know, like the Wizard of Oz, when they finally get to the Wizard of Oz and they pull the curtain back, and it's just some mustached geezer going on an organ. You know, it feels a little bit like that at the moment with the American government. Like they're kind of like revealing things that weren't necessarily known before.
Yeah.
And it's given us a bit of an insight and transparency to the American government that we haven't had for a very long time. So, although I don't know how good or bad this is going to be, it could be very bad actually, in ways that we can't foresee right now. Could actually be very bad, but I can't help it. My gut instinct is that I feel like it's actually kind of good. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Yeah, we'll
Depends
see. We'll
also
see.
what they do.
Maybe
If
I'll
they're
be.
not giving that money, they have to then do something useful with it, which is the other problem, I guess.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, because at the end of the day, yeah, if they're gonna make those decisions, hey,
Yeah,
if you're
you don't
gonna get
want
the money back,
you don't want another Brexit bus or something like that.
yeah, at least do something with it. You know what I mean? Like, don't be fucking everyone off here. But yeah, anyway, okay, that's the last bit of the segment of the show. Thank you, Mary, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No problem. It's been fun.
I know we went off a bit too long. I try and keep it about 2 hours, but I think we got caught up on the first few ones for a while for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I'm good at derailing, I have to say.
No, you didn't derail. No, we were talking about the issues properly, but we got caught up on the trans stuff for a long time, but that's for obvious reasons. And so obviously it took it a bit long. So I really appreciate you sticking it through and staying with us. But yeah,
it's been fun.
Everyone, follow Mary at the Mary Chew on YouTube, and you can follow her on Twitter as well. I'll put her Twitter link and a YouTube link in the description. But yeah, hopefully you'll come on again as well in the future. I'm trying to do this every Sunday, so you know, whenever, if you are free, if you feel like you're up to it, like if you're happy to come on, it should be fun.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, but I'll leave it there. But yeah, okay. So yeah, do you have anything to say before we leave, or?
Not really. Subscribe to me on YouTube. There's always links in my descriptions and all my videos. Check out my music. Everything else, I don't know. That's about it.
Yeah, I think that's about it. But yeah, okay. Thanks everyone for tuning in. You've been great. Get involved in the comments. If you agree or disagree with anything we've said here, get in there. I'm happy to argue with you. Or get on my Twitter. Whatever. Anyway,